Good morning, folks. Hope everybody's having a great week. Today is Good Friday, correct? Hope everybody's having a good Friday. All right, a great Friday. We are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. We are live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. We are live on X. Is that right? Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. We are live on Facebook. Good morning, Facebook. We are live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. We are live on Instagram. Good morning, Instagram. My son just walked in. Good morning. Can you say good morning? Wait. Can you say good morning?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
What are you doing for all the stuff?
What stuff?
What are you doing with the stuff on this desk?
I'm working. I'm talking to my audience right now. I'm about to start my live stream. You want to join me? Okay. I'll see you later. All right. I'll see you later. We are live on TikTok. Good morning, TikTok. So the topic here today, we're going to talk about this alleged. I was going to talk about RFK Jr. today, but I bumped that one too. We'll save that one for Monday, at least pending any other breaking news happening over the weekend, since I like to use this space for current events. Any of you want to know what I talk about, my evergreen stuff, I got a show that comes out every day that's called Work on Your Game. You can listen to it for free on your favorite audio platforms such as Apple and Spotify. And that's when I talk about my evergreen business level stuff, such as personal development, personal growth, business, entrepreneurship, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, he did say no thanks. What's going on, my dude? Darren, good to see you in here. So first of all, before we even get into this material, what we're going to talk about again is this alleged rally that they're going to have down in Texas. Alleged. We don't know if this is even real. It's called Unite the White Rally. I'm going to talk about the concept. Whether the rally happens or not is anybody's guess. We won't know. It's supposedly happening tomorrow. We'll see if it happens or not, and if anything comes out of that. But whether it happens or not, what I want to talk about is the concept of it. But before we even get into that, I want to tell y'all, and I told y'all, especially those of you on TikTok, because when I do these live streams, my largest audience is usually the TikTok audience. Right now, it's 100 people here on TikTok. That I got suspended again yesterday. If y'all look at my story on TikTok and also on Instagram, you'll see the screenshots. I took a screenshot of it. I didn't even know I got suspended. Usually when I'm doing a live stream, if I get suspended, my live stream gets interrupted in the middle of the live and it says, you've been suspended for, they'll tell you whatever reason you got suspended. Most of the time when I've been suspended, it's been for quote unquote misinformation. Was not even a real thing. But most of my suspensions are based on misinformation. Yesterday, I got suspended on TikTok. And those of y'all who didn't see this, y'all can look it up and see it. Where is that? I know I took a screenshot of it. Oh, as a matter of fact, it was on my other phone, so I can't show it to you. But I got suspended on. Actually, I can't show it to you. Let me find it on my Instagram story because I did post it. And I got suspended on TikTok allegedly for misinformation yesterday. Let me see if I can find the post. Where is it? No, not that. Here it is right here. So it says your live access. So I logged on to TikTok to look at something else. And I was looking at some data from my live stream and it said your live access has been removed. I put that little graphic on there. That's not from TikTok. But I got suspended for misinformation yesterday off TikTok. Y'all can see it right there. I'm holding it so because the screen will keep going if I don't hold it. So I got suspended for misinformation and it told me that I was blocked from going live for a week. So allegedly I was going to be blocked for a week, and this allegedly happened at 9:55 a.m., which is like after I finished my live stream. So how I get suspended after the live stream is over, allegedly. So then I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So then what I did was I appealed. You can always appeal your suspensions. And as you can see, my appeal was approved literally like 5 minutes later. It was approved. So now here we are live again on TikTok. So I think some people just didn't like what they were hearing yesterday in my live stream. And I told y'all this already, that when I go live on TikTok, especially when I'm talking about a subject that draws a lot of attention, usually anything involving politics tends to draw a lot of attention, especially since Donald Trump is president. And a lot of people have very strong opinions about him. People were asking about that yesterday. Why you talk about Donald Trump? Because a lot of people got things to say. A lot of people have opinions about him. So when you talk about him, it draws attention. And I don't always make my content about that. As I told you, my evergreen material is not about current events. Look at the books behind me. You want to know what my evergreen material is? Look at the title of these books behind me. Look me up on the internet and you can see what I do business-wise. But I like talking about these current events for a couple reasons. Number one, everybody's paying attention to it. So everyone has something to say. So there's engagement. This is social media. That is kind of the point, is engagement. Then number two is that I can use my skill of logic and reasoning and trying to be as objective as possible and apply it to pretty much any subject. And if I pick a subject that everyone has an opinion on, then I can demonstrate my skill to the world, whether you agree with it or not, whether you think I actually have skill or you think I have no skill whatsoever, or I'm just a quote unquote grifter trying to serve the MAGA conservative audience. I had to finish doing my live stream. Can you sit here with me? Okay. I'll see you. If you want to join me, you can sit here. Okay. He's not interested. Not yet. All right. He's not interested in hearing me grift about MAGA and Donald Trump. So, but that's not the topic here today. Today, what we're going to talk about is this alleged rally that's going to happen in Texas, organized by this guy who was he was a January 6th guy. I forget the gentleman's name, but some of you may have seen it. I think his name is Jake Long. I think that's his name. So somebody correct me if I got the wrong name. But they're allegedly having this rally called Unite the White, not the right, but the white, down in Texas. This is all basically I guess we could say a White Lives Matter rally. That's all I want to talk about here today. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 41 books, done 4 TEDx talks. I own this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do here is we work with professionals and entrepreneurs and service-based people on systematizing and scaling their business based on 4 pillars: mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. You can learn more about that by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is in my profile on every app that I'm streaming on right now. That link is somewhere in there. I'm on 7 different apps right now, but you can find it. Anyway, when it comes to this whole concept of the Unite the White rally, now I am not a white person, but I understand why some may be interested in this, whether you are actually planning to attend the rally, whether you're the person who thought of the rally, whether you just agree with the concept. You don't even live in Texas. You live in Montana. You're not going to Texas to be a part of the rally, but you understand why they're doing it. I understand why you understand it. If you're a white person listening to this, and those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there was an incident that happened 2 weeks ago. Most of you probably heard of it. A black kid and a white kid had a confrontation. That's what we know. There was a confrontation at a high school sporting event. The white kid approached the black kid first and told the black kid, "You're sitting in the wrong space." The black kid verbally pushed back against the white kid, and there was some type of exchange there. What ends up happening is the white kid touches either the person of the black kid or he touches the bag of the black kid. Either way, the white kid did something, touching him in some way, shape, or form. And the black kid retaliated by pulling a knife out of his bag and stabbing the white kid. The white kid is now dead. White kid died on the spot. Black kid has now been charged with murder. He's out on bail right now, on house arrest, on $250,000 bail. That's the situation right now. And this has become a big racial thing simply because a black kid stabbed a white kid. Because to keep it real, for those you don't know, especially white people, y'all may not know this. In the hood, black people kill black people every single day. And nobody cares. It's not news. Black people don't care. There's no marching. There's no BLM. There's no nothing. Nobody cares. And white people kill white people too. And nobody talks about any of this. The only reason this is a subject is because of the racial dynamics. And that's the only reason I'm talking about it. It's the only reason any of you is interested, because of racial dynamics. If this had happened and a white kid stabbed a white kid in Texas, or a black kid stabbed a black kid in Texas, it would never make it to my doorstep. I live in South Florida. I would never have found out that this even happened if it wasn't a black and white thing. And most of you who don't live in that neighborhood wouldn't even know that this happened, because nobody would give a damn, and the news damn sure would not have covered the story. So that's why this is a story. And as I was saying, I understand. I'm going to take questions and comments at the end, by the way. I completely understand why some white people may be interested in this concept. Why do I say that? Am I grifting for white people right now by saying this? I got to check my grift. I got to check my grifting every time I make a comment that some people may disagree with, since people say that I'm grifting. All right, so this whole concept of Unite the White, again, whether they actually do the rally or not, just the concept of Unite the White, or White Lives Matter, or All Lives Matter. Y'all remember that whole argument that they had a few years ago? This is a pushback to all the attention and resources that Black Lives Matter received, and that I believe, I've told y'all many times, BLM was a race hustling organization, and you can see by the outcome, forget about my opinion, you can see by the outcome that BLM was a race hustling organization. If you didn't see Candace Owens' documentary through the Daily Wire called, I think it's called The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, she actually performed surgery on what BLM actually did and where all the money that they took in. They took in $100 million in donations in the summer of 2020. For those who don't know that, where'd that money go? She went and dug into and found out where that money went. Go watch the documentary. You can decide for yourself. But I knew before that documentary came out that BLM was a scam organization for one simple reason, that they only jumped up and made noise when they could blame a white person for what happened. If there was a black on black issue, BLM said absolutely nothing. And when there was a white on black issue or the system on black, such as George Floyd, yes, the cop was white, but it was the system because there was a couple brown people who were cops there too. When the system is against black, that's when BLM jumped up, and they didn't make any noise against black on black. When black on black happens a lot more than white on black. That told me that they were a scam, that they were hustling. And they hustled a whole lot of people and made a whole lot of money. And where are they now? We don't know. So I understand why white people, everybody saw what happened with BLM in the summer of 2020. Everybody saw that. Everybody knows about it. Everyone sees what they did over the Michael Brown situation / hoax in, what was that, St. Louis? The Michael Brown hands up, don't shoot, that we know wasn't actually what happened because Barack Obama's attorney general, a guy by the name of Eric Holder, who is a black man, he did the investigation and he said that's not what happened. That Mr. Brown was reaching for the gun of the cop and the cop used the gun and Michael Brown lost his life. That was a black man who said that that's what happened. So we know that was a hoax. The Trayvon Martin situation, there's a documentary out there called literally The Trayvon Hoax. I suggest you watch it. It's on YouTube. I'm not telling you that you need to believe what it says, but I say you listen to it and draw your own conclusions. Then there was a George Floyd situation, which many of us saw the 8-minute video. Many of you did not see the 30-minute video, which is the full body cam footage. I suggest you look that up. The whole point being the BLM organization, they only went and made noise when they could loudly blame white people / the system for something that allegedly happened to a black person. When things happen to black people in the hands of black people every day, BLM says absolutely nothing. That, by definition, makes them a scam for no other reason. By definition, that makes them a scam. And I understand that there's a bunch of white Americans, some of you listening to this right now, who watched that nonsense of BLM and said many of the things that I'm saying out loud, maybe you thought them. You didn't want to say them out loud because you didn't want to get labeled racist. You didn't want to get attacked by BLM. And maybe you're just not the type of person who goes and says these kind of things knowing that some people are going to be pissed off by it. Me, I don't give a damn. But some of you are maybe not that type of person. So you saw this. And now that we have this situation where it's not white on black, it's black on white. It's literally the roles are reversed, black on white. And now you see the response to this black on white, which is now allegedly the black community. That's not every black person, of course, but the black community allegedly has come to the defense of Mr. Anthony. This kid's name is Carmelo Anthony, the black kid who stabbed the white kid. Not Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player. This is a different kid. His name starts with the letter K, not the letter C. So this kid, Carmelo Anthony, all these people are allegedly coming to his defense. And he got all this money from, what do they call those, like the crowdfunding websites, Give, Send, Go, or GoFundMe, wherever he got the money from. A bunch of money got donated to him. Allegedly, somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 to $500,000 has been donated to this kid / his family to protect, defend, support him, whatever. You've seen this money getting donated wherever it came from. And by the way, any of you black people who thinks that everyday black folks just crowdsource $500,000 in a week and a half for this kid, you probably think the Easter Bunny is going to show up at your doorstep on Sunday and put some eggs in a basket for you. That is not all from everyday black people. That did not happen. That money came from some people whose names you don't know. They don't want you to know their names. And they made big donations that made it seem like all the black community came to support that kid. And the answer, no, that did not happen. All right. If you believe that, again, the Easter Bunny is coming on Sunday and is going to wake you up and leave some eggs under your pillow. Anyway, white people, y'all have seen that. And y'all have seen these things and you believe, but you're like, wait a minute. A black kid stabbed a white kid. First of all, BLM happened. We already know BLM. Black kid stabs a white kid. And now they're holding press conferences for the kid who did the stabbing. Y'all saw this press conference, this guy, Mr. Dominique Alexander. We're going to get to him in a moment. He's doing a press conference. He's basically making these public statements about all these terrible things that have happened to his client as if he's the one who's been done wrong, the kid, as if he's the one who's been done wrong. And they're making a big show out of all this. And I'm sure there's some white people, black people, of course, as well. But there's some white people looking at this like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? This doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense. We're going to get into that here today. So I understand why a white person might be in support of this whole concept of unite the white lives matter, et cetera, even though it may position you in direct opposition to the BLM thing, even if you may have had some sympathy for the BLM thing for whatever reason. The resources that got made, the positive attention that BLM got, and turn people who otherwise would have looked bad into victims now get worshipped and look good. This is the pushback. This is what happened. The pushback of, there was BLM, then there was the pushback to BLM, and now there's the pushback to the pushback. Y'all understand the laws of energy and the laws of the universe state that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Every force has an equal and opposite force. So BLM was allegedly a response to the racism of America. And people who didn't like BLM, they gave a response. You want to see an example of that? Think back to Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. The whole fine people thing with Donald Trump. Remember that? That was Charlottesville. What was Charlottesville? Charlottesville was the pushback of two groups who had certain feelings about race, and they decided to show up, and the other group showed up, and you got a clash. We're going to come back to Charlottesville in one moment. And then there was the pushback to the pushback to the pushback. And it just keeps going back and forth. It's like a seesaw. It keeps going back and forth. Right now, black people have decided, let me back up. 2024. What was the pushback to the pushback? Actually, let me back up again. 2020 outcome of the election that was finally, what we finally settled on was Biden defeated Trump. And people were dancing in the street that Trump got defeated and Trump's gone, is over, is over. All right, y'all remember that? We got January 6th. What was January 6th? A pushback to the pushback. Y'all following me? Then we got the Biden administration for 4 years. What was that? A pushback to that pushback for 4 years. What happened in 2024? Donald Trump said, I'm going to run again. And what happened? That side pushed back against him, and they threw all the lawsuits against him, all the lawfare, all of that thing, the attempts on his life, all of these things that were allegedly going to destroy him. Joe Biden was going to run, then Kamala Harris was running. All of this was a very strong pushback against Donald Trump. What happened? Everyone said, we don't like this. Well, not everyone, but many people said, we don't like this. What they do? They got behind Donald Trump, pushed back against that pushback. Donald Trump wins the election. Now we got Donald Trump in office. Now, guess what happens? 3 months into him being in office, now we got another pushback. Now, I'm not saying Carmelo Anthony, this kid. I'm not saying the black kid stabbed the white kid as a pushback to Donald Trump. What I'm saying is there are people who have a lot more say and a lot more power over the conversation happening in the world, as evidenced by what I'm talking about right now, that we're just waiting for an opportunity to do this. That's what's happening right now. So any of you who thinks that this just in a, what do they call it, like in a grassroots organic type of way, that this became a big news story, no, that's not what happened. Again, if you believe that, then again, you should be sleeping soundly Saturday night, because the Easter Bunny is going to wake you up with some nice eggs to put under your pillow when you wake up on Sunday. That is not what happened. This is a PSYOP, psychological operation. All right, this is a PSYOP. It is a PSYOP on the American people, because people know, and we already know this. We know this if you go back to Trayvon Martin, you go back to Hands Up, Don't Shoot Michael Brown, you go back to the summer of 2020, which I call the summer of social justice, go back to the election of 2020, go back to January 6, 2021, you go back to the Trump outcome in 2024. We already know, we have had plenty of examples that if you can racialize a topic, you'll get everybody excited and engaged. Again, proof positive, we're talking about it right here and y'all are listening. This is how it works. And there are people who are pulling the strings and they're controlling this thing and know exactly how to make it go. And they're making it go. This is what's happening right now. This case, we'll see what ends up happening, what they end up doing with this kid, because they're talking about a kid's life. This is not the same as let's say an O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was a grown man who had been married and had kids and all of these things when that O.J. Simpson situation happened. This is parallel in some ways, but not completely. O.J. Simpson was a grown man. So it was okay to play around with that in certain ways that wouldn't make sense now, because now we're talking about two kids that are not even of the majority age yet, not even adults yet. And we're really playing with this kid's life, Mr. Anthony. And when I say playing with his life, I know he did something, but at the same time, we can't treat this like the O.J. Simpson, because this kid has hopefully another 60, 70 years of life to live, and he might not be that long in jail, even if he gets convicted fully on whatever charges he ends up with. This whole thing is a PSYOP that, again, is people who are trying to play the races against each other and turn this into a race challenge, a race war. That's pretty much what they're trying to do. They're trying to ignite a race war right now. And the White Lives Matter, or Unite the White, whatever they're calling this rally, allegedly this happened. Whether it happens or not doesn't even matter now, because everybody saw it and now everybody's responding to it. Again, I'm responding to it. So it did its job. Whether they actually have the rally is irrelevant, because how many of us are going to be in Frisco, Texas tomorrow? Very small percentage of us, maybe none of you. So it doesn't matter if they have the rally or not. The fact is, you know about it. Again, how many of you were at Charlottesville, Virginia, all right, when they had Charlottesville? Most of us weren't there, but you know about it. How many of you were in D.C. on January 6, 2021? Most of us weren't there, but you know about it, and we all have an opinion on it. That's the point. The point is to get everybody engaged in talking about it and making it all about, in some way, shape, or form, making it all about race. That is what's happening right now. And again, I understand why people on the white side may say, well, look, we have every right to, because of all the things I've already said. And I understand why people on the black side believe, hey, we have every right to support this kid. He's innocent until proven guilty. Maybe he can claim self-defense. Look at all the terrible things that have happened to black people. Look at all these other things. Why all of a sudden white people are coming to be mad at us supporting one of our own, and he hasn't even been convicted yet? There are strong arguments on both sides. I don't think they're equally strong, but I do believe there are strong arguments that I can understand why a person, even if I may not agree with them, I can understand why emotionally there are black people who feel how they feel in defending Mr. Anthony right now. And I can understand how emotionally there are white people, and logically how there are white people who feel how they feel and saying, like, wait a minute, how is this even a thing that they're holding press conferences for the dude who did the stabbing? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me, that they're doing holding a press conference for this kid. But I also understand that most people do not look at things logically. They look at things emotionally, especially a triggering event like a stabbing and somebody losing their life. And black people are saying, well, hey, we've seen black people railroaded in the past. We've seen black people not being given rights in the past. We've seen black people not being treated equally in the past. So if this one time that we're going to make an exception to make sure the black person kind of gets away with murder, so to speak. And so what? I mean, look at the balance. Have we balanced the books yet? Again, this is the argument that people have with O.J. Simpson. For those of you who remember the O.J. Simpson case, which was 30 years ago. The O.J. Simpson case, I remember I think I was in middle school at the time. And we had TVs in our classrooms. There's a funny thing. I was thinking about this morning. We had TVs in every classroom, and I had class at the time that they were announcing we're going to announce the verdict this day. So y'all remember the O.J. case. The jury finally deliberates. The whole country is talking about the O.J. case. And the jury is going to deliver its verdict on a certain day at a certain time. All I remember is it was a weekday because I was at school. And every teacher was telling their kids, either, yes, we're going to watch the verdict, we're going to turn it on and watch it because the teacher cared, or no, we're not going to watch the verdict. And I remember I had math class, and our math teacher was this white woman. Don't know her background or anything about it. Just remember she was a white female. And I remember the day that the OJ verdict was going to get read would be during her class. And she told us before class started, we are not watching the verdict. Now, looking back on that, I would guess, this is just my guess, I don't know, remember this woman's name or anything. My theory is she knew that OJ was going to get off, and she was kind of upset about it, and she didn't want to see it. And she didn't want to hear her class celebrating. And I remember the verdict got read while we're in class, and the teacher's just teaching as if nothing's happening. And when the verdict got read, you could hear outside of the classroom all the kids celebrating. Now, the school I went to was half black and half white. In middle school, it's half black, half white. But I remember hearing the celebration outside of the classroom after the verdict got read. So we all knew what the outcome was. And we were all kind of looking at each other and kind of giggling. And the teacher just kept teaching as if she didn't hear it. But I think she knew what was going to happen, that OJ was going to get off. And the whole point being, again, this is just a theory. The whole point being that case became a black against white. That wasn't a did he do it, did he not do it? It was a black versus white. It was black people saying, look at all the stuff that happened to us. Rodney King just happened a few years ago. All right, so if this guy gets to get away with killing two white people, so what? That balances it out at least a little bit. Even though O.J. Simpson made a point of not, quote unquote, celebrating his blackness. Before that happened, all of a sudden black people jumped on it just because he's black. And I understand why white people were upset about that. There are white people who are still mad about the O.J. case to this very day. Now, O.J.'s passed away now, but I get it. This is similar. It's not exactly the same because, again, this kid is 17. Carmelo Anthony, he's 17 years old. Now, O.J. was a grown man who had already had a career, had some money, had some status, had done a lot of things. This kid is completely different. He hasn't done anything. I mean, in terms of his life. I mean, he did stab somebody. I'm not talking about that. He hasn't achieved anything in his life yet. He's only 17. What can he achieve? So this is the equal and opposite reaction, folks. And y'all got to understand the laws of the universe. One of the laws of energy is that every force has an equal and opposite force. And it just keeps going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this is why we're having this thing. All that being said, this whole unite the white thing, whether it's a real event or not, whether it actually happens or not, just the fact that people are putting it out there, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. This should not be taking place. This is a very bad idea. And why is this a bad idea? I'll tell you why it's a bad idea. It's not a bad idea because white people do not have a right to believe it. That's not the reason. I already told you. White people have a right to believe what they're believing. Same way black people have a right to believe what they believe. And it's not because white people couldn't explain this. I just explained it for you. All right. They do have a reason. The reason why this is a bad idea is because of what I mentioned a few minutes ago. This is a psyop. This is not organic. This is not organic. This is a psyop. There are people out there who just want to stir up this controversy between black and white because the controversy between black and white draws attention. It draws eyeballs. It draws donations. It allows people to build up their followings and bases and make rallies and sell T-shirts. And that's what this is all. This is a hustle. That's what this is. So when I talk about race hustling, often I'm talking about black people who make everything about race to galvanize other black people. But the race hustling can go both ways. And what's happened right here is that the race hustling by black people has been going on for so long. I've been pointing out race hustlers since about 2017. And the race hustling has been happening for so long that white people are looking at this and saying, okay, this shit is working. Or how about we get involved? How about we start doing it too? I mean, hustling is hustling. And it's called hustling because it actually works. Like if it wasn't working, it wouldn't be a hustle. All right, it's working. And now some white people looked at this and said, okay, well, if they can do it, we can do it. And they got involved. Now, do I think they should do it? No. But do I understand why they did it? Yes, I do. I get it. I mean, I remember I read Jay-Z put out a book. I forget the name of Jay-Z's book. What was Jay-Z's book called? Decoded? I think it's called Decoded. It wasn't really a book like what most of you would think of a book. He didn't sit down and write out his story. He started to do a book like that, but he changed his mind because he didn't want to talk about his past. But in the book Decoded, he basically takes a bunch of his raps that he did and he breaks down the raps and starts explaining them. One of the things that he talks about is when he got into, because you listen to Jay-Z's music, allegedly he was a drug dealer for many years. And he tells a story about how he noticed in his neighborhood that all the people who had stuff, they were drug dealing. And the people who didn't have much, these were the upstanding citizens who went to work every day and paid their bills, but they were still in the projects and they were still broke and they didn't have a way to get out. He saw the only people who looked like they had anything were the drug dealers. So because of that, he decided to partake in drug dealing. He knew it was a bad thing to do. He knew he was breaking the law. And he knew he was risking his freedom or his life by doing it, but he did it anyway, according to Jay-Z's story. I'm telling you that to say this, that oftentimes we can look at things and know that this is probably not the right thing to do, but look, if I want to get a certain outcome, then maybe I have to go do this. Maybe I got to go do that. And we got to remember laws of economics. Third law of economics is that there is no such thing as a free lunch. Everything has a cost. And the cost, the benefit of doing this is cost benefit analysis. The benefit of doing this is that the people who are going to do the unite the white, protect white lives matter, et cetera, all these things, pushing back against Carmelo Anthony, they will benefit because they're going to get a bunch of people to rally around them. And who knows, another star may emerge from this. I mean, Dominique Alexander, the guy who's defending Carmelo Anthony, did any of you know his name 3 weeks ago? Any of you knew who he was 3 weeks ago? I never heard of him. And when this is over, who knows? When this is over, he might actually get bigger because of this. This could be his springboard towards fame and stardom just because he was involved in this. Like, think of the kid from, what's the kid's name from the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the mass offing that happened down here in Florida a few years ago? What's that kid's name? He's like an activist against guns. David Hogg. Or what exactly did he accomplish? What did he do? He didn't do anything. He did absolutely nothing. He achieved nothing. He had no accomplishments in his life. All he did was make sure everyone knew that he went to the school. It's not like he ever looked down the barrel of the gun. He didn't get shot. He didn't get shot at, but he went to the school that day and he made himself into the advocate against gun violence. And his claim to fame, his credibility for talking about this is, I was at that school the day that this famous shooting occurred. But what accomplishments does he have? What did he actually do? He didn't do anything. All he did was be in the school when that happened, and he leveraged that into the platform that he has now. Now this he's famous. Like, he's like a famous Democrat now. But he didn't do anything. And when you see that, and this is what you all have to understand. I was talking about this yesterday when someone had made a comment when I was talking live yesterday, like, why you were talking about Donald Trump. You talk about Donald Trump often. Not talking about him today. And what I said to them was the same thing that I'll tell all of you again, is that the way media has gone, and media being us, not just the media, but media period, because we are media. We create media. All these apps only exist because we put content on them. We have conditioned ourselves to pay the most attention to the things that are most exciting. The things that things that contain substance and require time, attention, and an investment in order to understand, like an hour-long documentary or reading an entire book. Most people don't do that anymore. What do? We watch 30-second videos on TikTok. We do that. And when we do that, the media responds by saying, okay, this is what they're responding to. Let's give them more of it. First law of economics, ladies and gentlemen, supply and demand. We are demanding and responding to 30-second clips instead of watching the 60-minute episode. Okay, let's give you a bunch of 30-second clips. That's what you responded to. What does that have to do with what I'm talking about here? Is that if you can give people something that is exciting and gets them engaged and emotional, and those things keep you on these apps. They get more watch time out of you. More watch time means running more ads. More ads equals more money. This is going to keep giving you more of what you're responding to. This is what we did. The media did not do this. We did this, and we are the media. Every social media app I'm broadcasting on right now: YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. We are the creators of the media on these apps. They don't publish stuff, not that much. You on Instagram, go follow Instagram's account. See, often Instagram publishes on Instagram. It's not them, that's us. We're the ones doing it. And what do we respond to? What gets the most engagement? You know, Instagram, what gets the most engagement? All right, usually is women showing off their asses. I don't use TikTok as a viewer, but I would assume there's probably a whole bunch of that on TikTok as well. Why? Because this is what we respond to. If 60-minute episodes got all the attention, then these apps wouldn't be what they are. We are responding to this. So the things that get people excited and engaged, such as talking about race, these are the things that draw attention. We have told the world that this is what we want, and this is why we keep getting it. And when someone sees an opportunity for this, this is what they do. So Mr. Alexander may blow up off of this. He may disappear off of this. This is a gamble that he's taking. It depends on how this case works out. But this is where he is right now. These people are agitators, and their whole thing is they want to create a race battle between black and white. The reason why they want to do it, because it gets a whole bunch of black people excited, gets a whole bunch of white people excited. And when you get people excited, you can get them to do pretty much anything. Pay money, donate, a 10-day rally, show up on DC on January 6th. You can get people to do anything when you get them excited, especially when the excitement is anger. Donald Trump understands this very well. It doesn't make him a bad guy. I'm saying he understands it. All right. Can we agree? He understands this really well. And it's not that it's a negative thing. It just depends on why somebody is using it, how they end up using it, and the outcome of what they do. And there are agitators when it comes to race who are angling to do this. This is their entire gig right here, what they're doing right now. They're trying to turn this into the next OJ. They're trying to make this into a race war between black people and white people. Which, by the way, black people, we don't want a race war. We don't have enough people. We ain't got enough weapons. We ain't got enough resources. We don't have the organization, nor do we have the strategy. But there are black people who want to jump straight into this because, again, when you get people emotional, they don't think logically. This is what happens. And on top of that, there are lots of black people and white people who are happy to make it into this because it gives them something, as I just said, to get excited about. And something that the people controlling the situation can benefit from. You get people super excited. Again, you can get anything you want out of those people. Ultimately, this is going to put everybody in the worst situation. That's why this is a bad outcome. It's not that the intention is necessarily negative. As I've said, white folks who are supporting this, I understand. A black kid stabs a white kid in school, and all of a sudden there's all this support for the stabber as if he's the victim. I'll say it for the third time. That does not make any sense. If the white kid had stabbed the black kid and the black kid was dead, and now the white kid is on trial or he's charged, and then the white people started donating money and having rallies and holding press conferences defending the white kid, black people would have a real problem with that. And some people are saying, I'm sure some of you are thinking or saying right now, well, they did that with the kid in Wisconsin. What's his name? Rittenhouse. They did that with the guy in New York, Daniel Penny. They did that with George Zimmerman to a lesser extent, but the other two, they did that a lot. And I say, you're right. I understand. They took the person who had did the alleged crime and they got defended. They got a whole bunch of money given to them, and they got a whole bunch of white people supporting them saying, well, hey, so what? What's wrong with that? That person did the right thing. So now black people are doing the same thing, and white people are mad, and black people are like, wait, what you mad for? All right, isn't that what y'all did with Kyle Rittenhouse? Isn't that what you did with Daniel Penny? The answer is yes. That's true. Both sides have legitimate arguments. Again, I believe some sides are more legitimate than others, but both sides have a legitimate argument. And again, folks, this is not a logic discussion. This is an emotion discussion. When people are emotional, you can't out-logic them out of their emotions. Or any of you men ever been in an argument with a woman, you should understand this very well. You cannot use logic when somebody's emotional. It does not work. Trust me. Take my word for it. All right, so this guy representing the Anthony family, Mr. Alexander, all right, Dominique Alexander. All right, this guy is a race hustler. All right, this guy's a race hustler. All right, clearly a race hustler. He is trying to use this case to build himself up. Now, I thought he might be their attorney, but he's not the attorney. I'm glad he's not their attorney, because if he was the attorney for the Anthony family, I would actually feel a more sympathy for the young man Carmelo, because this guy would not be competent. I know how lawyers talk. This guy doesn't sound like one. And good thing I found out he's not actually a lawyer. What is he exactly? We don't know. He's kind of just a race hustler who just runs around looking for opportunity. This guy does not sound very intelligent. He is not very articulate, and he doesn't seem to have much in the intellect department, but he is very good at race hustling. And that's the thing about race hustling, folks, is that you don't need to be super intelligent, don't need to be very articulate, you don't need to have much intellect. But if you know how to take a racial situation and get people excited about it, you can draw a lot of attention to yourself and to your cause, and you can benefit from this. You want to see an example of this at the professional level? Look at Ibram X. Kendi. Y'all familiar with this guy, Ibram X. Kendi? He wrote the book called How to Be an Anti-Racist. I trashed his book in a 4-part series on my show, probably about, it's probably about 4 years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, whenever I read that book, maybe 2020-ish, something like that. The book was trash. But that book was very popular. He sold a lot of copies of that book. I wouldn't be surprised if that book sold at least 1 million copies. He might have sold 1 million copies of that book. He made himself a lot of money, took in a lot of donations in 2020 himself. Now, he was not a good manager nor a good leader. He was a good race hustler, but he wasn't a good leader. Those are not the same things, and he's since fallen from grace. But he had a wave. He had a run. His run was, he had a moment. Why? Because he was a very good race hustler. And again, you don't have to be good at anything else to be a good race hustler. Not to say all race hustlers cannot be intellectual, articulate, and intelligent, but many of them are not. This guy, Mr. Alexander, is none of those things, but he's a very good race hustler. All you got to do is find a racial topic, get people excited about it, and run with it. And when we're talking a dead body, you can't lie about a dead body. All right, that happened. That's why people are excited about this. And what I just told you all, people are turning this into the summer of 2020 again. Do y'all remember the summer of 2020? We don't want the summer of 2020 again. They're trying to turn the summer of 2025 into the summer of 2020. Depending on how this case goes, depending on how fast they get the trial, that's what they want to do. They want to do it in the summertime, because in the wintertime, depending on where you live, you don't want to be outside protesting. It's too cold. They need to do it in the summer. All right, George Floyd happened at the perfect time. It happened at the end of May. It was perfect for everybody to be outside all summer protesting. Perfect. Biden was against Trump. It was a perfect storm. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I thought we were supposed to not be gathering in groups because that would become a super spreader of the virus. But I guess the virus just takes a day off because we're out there arguing about race. So the virus doesn't matter then, right? You tell me. That was the summer of 2020, right? Am I missing anything? Did I get something wrong? Am I missing anything? So they're trying to turn 2025 into 2020 all over again. That's what they're trying to do. And they're trying to use these 2 kids to do it. That's what they're doing. They're using these kids to do it. And again, one of these kids is already dead. The other kid is still alive. Some of you may not have much sympathy for him because of what the facts that we know, which is that he pulled out a knife and stabbed this kid. What led to it, what happened after, we'll find out. But we do know that he did that. Some of you may not have much sympathy for him. And I'm not asking you to have sympathy for him. What I'm telling you is that they are using this kid. They are using this kid, and they're using the death of the other kid, the white kid, to get you to behave out of your character based on this racial animus that they're trying to stew up between black people and white people. That's what they're doing. And if you don't believe me, watch it play out. Especially if this goes to trial, especially if they go through the whole trial. There's no plea bargain or anything like that, and this just goes to trial. This is going to be crazy. Especially if he gets off, he's going to be crazy. And if he gets convicted, depending on the sentence that he gets, it could also be crazy. If he gets a plea deal of, let's say, 5 years, it's going to be crazy. And basically, no matter what happens, it's going to be crazy. All right, just expect craziness. I'm just trying to I'm thinking through this while I'm talking to you all. I don't see any outcome that could lead to this not being crazy. Only outcome that could lead to this not being crazy is if Mr. Anthony is somehow, some way no longer alive. Not that I'm wishing this or saying that anybody should do it, but if he's no longer alive and the trial never happens, then maybe this will simmer down and disappear. But anything other than that is going to be crazy. Any outcome that you get in court is going to be crazy. If he gets convicted and gets a lot of years, crazy. If he takes a plea deal and gets a few years, crazy. He gets convicted and gets only a handful of years, crazy. If he beats the case, super crazy. And if he gets the book thrown at him, he gets 30 years. Also crazy. So I don't see any way this can't be crazy. I don't see it. If any of you see a way this can't be crazy, you let me know. When it comes to Mr. Alexander, I told you Charlottesville. They're trying to turn this into Charlottesville. That's what they're turning this into. This is not going to be a George Floyd. This is going to be Charlottesville. 2 groups clashing at the same time and craziness happening right there on the spot between the 2 groups. That's what this is going to be. Y'all remember the Charlottesville situation. Find people on both sides. they trying to get this Donald Trump level. They want to get to the level where the president has to talk about it. It hasn't happened yet. That's where they're trying to bring it. And this man, Mr. Alexander, just a couple points on him. He gave a press conference yesterday. I don't know if y'all saw it. Was that Carmelo Anthony's parents standing in the background? Can anybody verify that? Put yes in the comments that was his parents. The kid Carmelo Anthony, Dominique Alexander did a press conference yesterday. That was his parents standing in the background? Okay, so I don't know who Carmelo Anthony's parents are. I mean, I saw them there, and I believe his mom spoke. I didn't hear what she said, but what the hell are they doing? All right. First of all, I don't know who they are, what their background is or anything, but they're clearly looks like they're married, right? And they have multiple kids, a 2-parent household. From the outside looking in, that sounds good. I'm definitely a big advocate of 2-parent households of all races. This guy standing there speaking, Mr. Alexander, he sounded dumb. He sounded like, those of you who are black, you understand guys like him. All right, he sounded like, you know what he sounded like? I remember the movie Friday when Craig and Smokey are sitting on the stoop outside of Craig's house, and then Bernie Mac walks up, the preacher. Remember Bernie Mac when he walked up and Craig was like, "Oh, here come this guy right here." That's Dominique Alexander. He's that guy. I don't know if he's a church guy, but he's the same similar layout. He's that guy. And when Bernie Mac walked up, he was like, "Oh, this guy right here." He said, "Oh, at 25th Street Baptist Church, we called marijuana a sin." And then Smokey said, "Well, down here around Normandy and Weston, we call this here 20 twin." And I ain't gonna say the next word, but y'all remember that. That's him. That's Dominique Alexander. All right, he's that guy. He's Bernie Mac from Friday. And again, he got the suit on. He's trying to sound proper, but he doesn't have the vocabulary to sound proper, so he's giving himself away. But to a certain class of Negroes, he is a smart, high-class individual. I'm not in that class. I can see right through his nonsense because I've seen many people like him. But to a certain class of Negroes, he is smart, intellectual, and he's a guy that you should listen to. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because what the hell are Carmelo Anthony's parents doing letting this guy represent them? What are they doing standing behind this guy? If something happened to my kid and this guy is standing on there talking the way he's talking, I'm taking the mic from him. Like, what the hell are you doing? Actually, it would never even end up that way because I'd take one look at him, listen to him speak and say, I don't need you to speak for me. Let me speak. I can speak better than you. I'll speak for my child. Why are you speaking? And why are they allowing this guy to speak? That's making me question them, the parents of Mr. Anthony. Why are y'all standing behind this guy? Y'all standing behind him, that's telling me something about you. All of you familiar with the law of association, right? You become the average of the people you spend most time with. You need to understand people associate you with your company. You are the company you keep. Their child is on trial, about to be on trial for his life. Their son, 17-year-old son. So they had 17 years to teach this kid the way they want to teach him. And they've invested what they've invested. I'm guessing this is the first time he's done something this crazy. And maybe they didn't know he was going to do it. And we don't know. We'll find out. But after 17 years of investment in this kid, now he's on trial for his life. This is the guy you got representing you? Are you serious? This guy? He's going to speak for your family? After 17 years of your investment into this kid, this is the guy that you decided, of all the people in the world, this is the guy we're going to have represent our family. They would have been better off with Al Sharpton. Keeping it real. I'm not a fan of Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is the godfather, the grandfather of race hustling. I am not a fan of Al Sharpton. But Al Sharpton will represent their family better than this dude. Al Sharpton at least is articulate. I don't agree with what he is articulating, but he is articulate. He at least says what he means to say, and it sounds clear and it makes sense when he says it. Even if I disagree with it, I get what he's saying. This guy is not that. This guy is some strip mall attorney, sounding stupid and trying to sound smart. And there are people who actually thinks this guy sounds smart. This is a problem for the Anthony family. And I'm trying to be as objective as possible about the whole situation until we find out more facts. As I told you all earlier this week when I was talking about this, when he got bail, we only got about 2% of the facts right now in this case. We got a whole bunch of opinions. We got 2% of the facts. The other 98%, we don't know yet. But this guy being allowed to represent their family is causing me to question what that family's about. And again, who the hell are these people? Anybody know what the mom and dad do? Like, what's their background? Anybody know? And I know Mr. Alexander has a bad past. I've heard about that. And one of the things that he said during the speech, his talk on the stage, Mr. Alexander, is that he alluded to the fact that the school should not have even had the event. As they said, mom is a stay-at-home. So what's the dad do? And the person I'm really questioning is the dad. I'm not okay. So the mom's a stay-at-home mom. Great, a bunch of you are saying that. So let's just assume that's the case. What does the dad do? I'm trying to figure out how the dad, as a man, you're going to stand there and let that man represent you. There's nothing wrong with having another man represent you if that man knows some things and can say some things that you can't say. But him, that's who you picked. So someone said dad was a carpenter. Nobody said what the dad does. Okay. All right. It doesn't really matter what exactly he does. It doesn't matter that much. But like, dude, like, what are you doing? I mean, he's the man of the house. He got a wife at home who's staying home. He got 3 kids. All right. So he's taking care of a family. And this is the best you can find. This is the best you can come up with. Maybe let me give him the benefit of the doubt. Let me give Carmelo Anthony's father the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you raised a kid for 17 years and all of a sudden one day you hear that he stabbed somebody and he's going to be charged with murder. He may be a little bit overwhelmed right now. Maybe a lot overwhelmed. So let me cut this man some slack. Let me give him some grace. Okay, so I'm not bashing him. I'm bashing their decision, but I'm not bashing them personally. Maybe he's overwhelmed right now. 2 weeks ago, your son stabbed somebody, and now he's on trial for life, and you're trying to figure this out, and everybody's all in your business. The whole world's looking at you, or at least it seems like that. Maybe he's just overwhelmed, and Mr. Alexander stepped in and said, let me help you all out. And he said yes. It still doesn't look good. Let's just say that. It still doesn't look good. So Mr. Alexander tried to allude to the fact that maybe they should not have had the event because it was raining outside, or he just sounded dumb. He was just throwing things out there that didn't make any sense, but he was trying to say it with so much conviction as if he was making a good point. He sounded like a fucking idiot. And I'm like, who is this guy? Now, some of you mentioned that we do know he does have a rap sheet of arrests going back through I saw that rap sheet they put out there going back to his teens and through his late 20s. I think he's in his 30s now. So he had a lot of interactions with the law enforcement system. And this is a problem because, not a problem just because he's been incarcerated. I mean, a lot of people have been incarcerated. Martin Luther King went to jail. Or Malcolm X went to jail for different reasons, but Nelson Mandela was in jail. So just because you've been arrested does not necessarily mean you're a bad person. It depends on what you got arrested for and, when you got arrested, who did it, look at Donald Trump. They were trying to arrest him. They tried very hard. Might have ended up in jail. Doesn't make him a bad guy. The problem is if you are putting yourself frontline as the representative of a kid who's on trial for his life based on stabbing another kid over what seemed to be equivalent of a schoolyard altercation. I think it's fair to call it that. Schoolyard altercation. You pulled out a knife and stabbed him. And now your representative is a guy who's been arrested like 10 times in the last 15 years. It doesn't look good. The optics don't look good. And this matters a lot. Any of you saw the movie called, what was the name of that movie about Mark Zuckerberg? Was it called The Social Network? You remember that movie about Mark Zuckerberg? I think it was The Social Network. It wasn't a documentary. It was actually a movie, acting type of movie. And one of the last, I don't watch movies anymore, but that movie came out so long ago, I remember it. I think it was called The Social Network, that Mark Zuckerberg movie. And it basically came down to him. And what happened in the movie was it tells this fictional story based on a true story, of course, of Mark Zuckerberg starting Facebook and then the Winklevoss twins arguing that they helped start the Facebook too. And Mark Zuckerberg went to trial. And this is kind of at the end of the movie. So at the end of the movie, Mark Zuckerberg's at trial arguing against the Winklevoss twins that he started Facebook and they had nothing to do with it. And they were arguing that they did have something to do with it. They wanted their money. And Mark Zuckerberg was having a conversation with a woman who was like, she was a member of the jury or something like that. She was like a consultant basically on the trial. And what she said to Mark Zuckerberg at the end of it, near the end of the movie, she said, well, my job is, I'm trying to paraphrase what she said. She said, my job is to do basically assessment of witnesses and assessment of people in court cases. And in court cases, it doesn't come down. A lot of people think it comes down to, quote unquote, the facts. It doesn't come down to the facts because we don't even know what facts are the facts. And when you get all of the facts, sometimes there's so many facts that overwhelms you. I mean, look at all the facts that got thrown out in the OJ case. And there's so many details. It's very detailed in forensics and science. And a jury member is a regular individual person just like me and you. They sit there for 10 hours a day listening to all those facts. And then they got to decide a binary yes or no. Like, that's very hard to put all those facts into your head and come up with a conclusion. And what the woman was explaining is that in court cases, people don't make decisions based on facts. They make decisions based on same way we make decisions on the presidential election. Who do we like? Who do we like? Who do we not like? And I think the Zuckerberg case was a civil case. So this is either you pay money or you don't pay money. That's what this was coming down to. And the woman said to Mark Zuckerberg, when it comes to likability ratings, Mr. Zuckerberg, you are very low. And again, I'm paraphrasing. She said, you are very low in likability. And based on what the judge or the jury is going to decide, because your likability rating is so low, you are probably going to lose this case and have to pay these guys a lot of money. So I would suggest you just settle with them and pay them a little bit less money in a settlement than you will pay if we go to a verdict, because you're going to lose because of your personality. That's basically what she told him. And he ended up settling with the Winklevoss twins, and I think they got a lot of money. So what does it have to do with this? Dominique Alexander is hurting the likability of this kid, Carmelo Anthony. When you stab somebody else in a schoolyard altercation and you are going to go to court and claim self-defense, I'm just an innocent kid who's not bothering anybody, and this kid came and bothered me, and he started it, and he touched me, and I felt like he was going to bully me, and he was a lot bigger than me, and all of these things. If you're going to make that case, then every single thing about you better sound like what you're claiming in court. Everything about you better look like that. Two-parent household, check, good. You're a good student with a 4.0 GPA, allegedly, check, good. You're on a football team and a track team, and you're respected by your teammates, check, good. You're a good student in school, check. You live in a good neighborhood, check. Your parents look good and clean, check. All those are good. Now you got this guy, Dominique Alexander, standing next to you. That ruins the whole picture. Y'all understand what I'm saying? If you're going to go to court and you're going to make a claim, I'm a good person and all of these things, and you got all these things about your character that stand up to what you're claiming, then you got this dude who's been in jail 10 times in the last 15 years and is not very articulate and is sounding stupid at a press conference representing you. That is going to work against him in court. And even if Dominique Alexander disappeared today, the damage has already been done, because that's going to get used against him in court. This was a bad idea. That's where I hold Carmelo Anthony's family, his parents, accountable, because this was a bad idea. Now they got to fight against the fact that this dude is standing there. You can't go to court and claim self-defense. I'm an innocent kid. They were bothering me. And the guy who's representing you in the public has 10 arrests in the last 15 years, and a lot of them violent arrests. What are you doing? Carmelo Anthony's family, what are you doing? This is hurting your case, and y'all ain't even go to court yet. So again, it's not even that Mr. Alexander, I mean, he's not on trial, right? But again, I just explained this to you. Optics matter, ladies and gentlemen. Optics matter. All right, there's a reason why when I do these live streams, people often ask me, are you a lawyer? I'm not a lawyer. Why do people ask me if I'm a lawyer? Because optics tell you that I might be. If I was in a white t-shirt and a snapback hat and some Jordan sneakers and some basketball shorts, none of you would ask me if I was a lawyer. Why? Because optically, it doesn't look like it. You understand? Optics matter. We judge things. We judge books by their cover. Everybody knows the saying, don't judge books by their cover, but everybody judges books by their cover. We judge people based on the way they present themselves. Now that we know this about this guy, he needs to be quiet and go away. He needs to disappear because he's making them look bad and is hurting their case before things even get there. He said, actions speak louder than words. All right, this is something that he said during his press conference. Actions speak louder than words, because he was talking about how, this is another thing I got to mention, the father of Austin Metcalf. Austin Metcalf is the white kid who got stabbed and died. His dad showed up to the press conference. And I guess police got called and they basically escorted him out. They didn't want him there. And Dominique Alexander said on the mic, well, this is disrespectful. And one of the things that he said was, all of you need to understand, actions speak louder than words. Like, mofo. You are representing a kid who stabbed another kid and killed him. What are you talking about? Actions speak louder than words. That's the action that we're talking about. We're only here because of that action. If had that action not happened, we wouldn't be here. And you said actions speak louder than words. Again, that's why this guy's an idiot. He should not be representing this family. He is hurting their case. Any of you know the Anthony family, get this message to them. This is hurting their case. They want to get off on self-defense. They got to get this guy out of the picture completely and immediately. And they got to replace him with somebody who's way better, who can erase the memory of his very existence with any relation to this case. If you want to support Carmelo Anthony. Now, if you want to see Carmelo Anthony get buried under the jail, then you should encourage Dominique Alexander to keep speaking. This is just my opinion. They got to get this guy off of the case. He's not even on the case, but they got to get him out of the whole situation. And again, I was asking about the parents. You already answered that question about that. But this lends more credence to the idea that maybe their house is not as in order as it seems because they got this guy. Again, Al Sharpton wasn't available. Al Sharpton seems to be available. He seems to be available for anything race-based, as far as I'm concerned. Anybody knows Al Sharpton busy? All right, they couldn't call Al. All right, they should have got Al on the phone. Because this guy ain't it. He ain't it. All right, this is becoming more and more of a racial issue. As I said, this is pitting black against white. This is a psyop, folks. I want y'all to understand this is a psyop. They're just trying to get black people mad at white people and turn this into another George Floyd, trying to turn this into the summer of 2020 all over again. They're trying to get it to the point that the president is talking about it. That's what they're trying to do with this. Do not fall for it. Doesn't mean you can't talk about it. I'm talking about it. But don't fall for this. All right, this is the trap. And they're trying to get everybody into, and white people. All right, I'm telling y'all the same thing. All right, I labeled this about that white. What is it? What did they name it? They called it, where is that title? Unite the White. Unite the White. All right, don't do this. This is not a good idea. Don't do this. Don't do this, not because anything's going to happen to you as a white person, but because all this is doing is getting people more hyped up to make it about a racial thing. And this is not going to go anywhere positive. It's going to go somewhere. It's not going to go anywhere positive. All right, that's the point that everybody needs to understand. And they're calling it the Unite the White Rally. That's what they're calling it. Let me show y'all the image because the picture is right here. So it says protect white Americans, but I heard other people call it Unite the White. So protect white Americans. This is the image that was going around social media yesterday. It went viral on social media just yesterday. Unite the White. This is the kid that got stabbed and died. His name's Austin Metcalf. It says justice for Austin Metcalf. Demand Carmelo Anthony be put back in prison until trial, which is not going to happen. So again, that's why I tell you this is a psyop. This is getting people excited for something that can't even happen. Judge already lowered his bail. He already paid it. What are you going to do? The judge's going to go, oh, never, I changed my mind. I'll go back to jail. It's not going to happen. Peaceful protests, they're claiming. April 19th, 11 a.m. So I'm recording this on April 18th. This is supposed to happen tomorrow at some high school in Texas. And it also says, stop black violence on white Americans. All right, this is just straight up race hustling. That's what this is. This is white people race hustling. Whoever put this together. That's what this is. Protect White Americans, PWA. It was founded by January 6th political prisoner and U.S. Senate candidate Jake Long. So Jake Long is a guy who was in D.C. on January 6, 2021, did probably several years in jail and was let out by Donald Trump's pardon. He started this organization. It's called Protect White Americans. And it sounds kind of funny. I understand. I already said I understand why this organization exists, Protect White Americans. But at the same time, sometimes there's too much of, even if you consider this a good idea, sometimes you can have too much of a good thing or too much of a good idea and it ends up backfiring and working against you. And that's where I think this is going. Hopefully this rally does not actually take place. And again, whether it does or not, it's not a good idea. This is my having to protect white Americans. It sounds funny just to say protect white Americans. I get it. If you're white, you might actually believe that, hey, we need to protect white people because look, what just happened to this white kid? He got stabbed by a black kid. I get it. You have an argument. January 6th. Look what they did to those people. Most of them white. Right? There's an argument there. It still sounds funny, but I get it. When I stop laughing, I get it. But let's not take this the wrong way. Okay? Here's what I got to do right now. Let me run to the restroom, folks. And then we're going to take questions and comments. I know we got plenty of them. Give me 60 seconds. I'm going to do what I usually do is I'm going to play an episode of my show called Work on Your Game. Let's see. My show is called Work on Your Game. Comes out every single day and is on Apple and Spotify. I'm going to play one of my recent episodes so y'all can get a taste of it. This is part 2 of how to protect your body as you age right here. So I'm going to let this play for 90 seconds. I'll be right back.
Everybody relates to what Dre's saying in a different way. Work on your game. I like the way he thinks.
Work on your fucking game.
I like the frameworks that he's put together.
Work on your game.
And I would highly recommend it to anybody that's trying to work on their game.
Work on your fucking game.
I think it's a good approach. It's a different approach, too.
Hey, you, work on your game.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Work on your game. DreOnPlay.com. And his philosophy makes a lot of sense.
Not only work on your game, perfect your craft.
Work on your game.
He knows how to communicate in such a fabulous way.
I can't say it enough.
Work on your game. You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself. It's going to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that's called On Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is we are moving on to part 2 of our 2-part series. All right, so you only got through the introduction, but you want to hear the whole episode, just go on Apple or Spotify. You can listen to my show. Y'all call this a podcast. I call mine a masterclass. We have over 3,000 episodes every single day since 2016. So you can check my receipts there. My official record is that show. Okay, these I do for some fun, some entertainment, and we're talking current events. So my official record of where I stand on things is on that show. All right, so any of you want to check my receipts, that's where you check them. Over on YouTube, O-Dog, good morning, said the media is trying to fuel a race war. Yes, they are. And the media is us. We're part of the media, folks. It's not just CNN and MSNBC. It's us. We are part of the media. Hertz Donut said, white people are very individualistic. The problem with that is if every other group works as a team, white people will lose. Hertz Donut, that's an interesting comment. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think individualism happens in the black community as well. There's the reason why the black community doesn't really come together the way other communities do. The reason why our money doesn't stay in our community. I get what you're saying. I mean, certain white people are definitely individualistic, but the whole white, not even white, but that document that the African American History Museum put out a few years ago, which is about the traits of whiteness. One of them was individualism, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. So there are black people who agree with that as well. O-Dog said, I hope white people aren't suited enough to attend the rally supposedly scheduled tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see. That's why I'm saying people should not buy into this, whether it's a real rally or not. People should not buy into this because all it's doing is fueling racial division. And we don't want racial division. It's not going to help anybody. Especially with this case going. That's what they're trying to turn this into. So let's see what we got over on TikTok. Let's see how far I can scroll. I can't get all the way to the top. But shout out to everybody who was here on TikTok. I can't see all the comments from the beginning, but I'm reading from Kuto. It says, 2017, the minister was arrested on felony theft charges of property between $2,500 and $30,000. Is that Mr. Alexander? Is he a minister? That makes perfect sense if he's a minister. So there's perfect parallel calling him Bernie Mac from Friday. He was indicted 2019 on felony assault charges in a domestic violence case. I saw that as well. Austin's dad was at the press conference. Yeah, I mentioned that. Candy said, I love Bernie Mac. I love Bernie Mac too. I mean, he was just acting, but he's a perfect explanation for who Dominique Alexander looks like to me. That's who I thought of when I saw him. Remind me of Bernie Mac from Friday. Kudos said money. Yeah. Lisa Fonseca, thank you for the follow. James Collins, y'all like Bernie Mac? Shout out to Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac was funny. Traditional all day, good morning to you. Roger said Al Sharpton Jr. Now, I think that's disrespectful to Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton at least is precise in what he's saying. Even when I disagree with him, I'm never confused by what he's saying. Carpenter, thank you for the follow. JC said they all showed their true colors, his money. Well, we already knew that. that ain't even news. Stephanie says, anytime something media-driven happens, the activists and pastors come running. Oh, yes, they do, because there's money to be made. And listen, everybody got bills. I'm not knocking their hustle. I'm just pointing out their hustle. That's what I say. When I point out race hustlers, I'm not mad at them. I'm just pointing out their hustle. I'm just exposing them. They keep doing what you do. If people are willing to pay you for hustling, then you might as well keep hustling. I can't be mad at if people are paying for it. Again, the first law of economics, ladies and gentlemen, is supply and demand. You might not like the corn industry, but the reason the industry thrives is because people are willing to pay for it. So how are you going to be mad? Remember, I was talking to a female friend of mine. She was like, Dre, I don't understand why all these Instagram ass models are out there. I said, the reason they're ass models because they are ass buyers. They're ass customers. If there were no ass customers, there would be no ass models. Now, this is what it is. So we got to accept that. JC said it will all come out in trial. Maybe. We'll see what the judge allows to be admitted to the jury, because the judge can block things from getting admitted to the jury. And I don't think that black woman is going to be the judge of the trial. I think she was just a judge for the bail. Metal detectors all over the schools. This is why. Well, it was outside, so I don't know if they have metal detectors outside where it happened. They probably will now after this. Late Lover, thanks for the follow. Mike said, you notice Al Sharpton and Ben Crump have stayed away. They stayed away for now. Don't speak too soon, Mike. By the way, those of you watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in my profile, and also follow me on Instagram. Links in my profile, and because I'm on YouTube right now, so I got more than one YouTube channel. But make sure you subscribe to my YouTube and follow me on Instagram. You're on TikTok right now. And again, I just got suspended on TikTok yesterday. Didn't even know. Then I appealed, and 5 minutes later, it was removed. So you never know with this app right here. So Al Sharpton and Ben Crump are just waiting for the right opportunity. And Ben Crump is a lawyer, so he sues people. So ain't nobody to sue just yet. He can't sue anybody yet because nothing happened that he would have a case. Now, Al Sharpton could show up. There's some money to be made. Ain't no money to be made, so Al has stayed away for now. But put an asterisk next to that one, Mike. Put an asterisk next to that. JC said, neither side wins. Carmelo family using their kid for money. Well, they ain't exactly losing. No, what they might lose is some years from their kid. That's where they will lose. So we'll see where it goes. James Collins said the old get angry from Sharpton. Well, now everybody's using it. I mean, he taught a lot of people. Junie Rose said, wish I could stay in this live. You speak fast will be returning. Thank you, Junie. We'll see you next time. So the mom's a stay-at-home mom. Okay. So that means the dad has some semblance of knowing what he's doing in some way, shape, or form. So that's why it perplexes me that they picked this guy, this Mr. Alexander. Traditional said dad is not working now. Or didn't they say he took a leave of absence from work or something because of this? I get that. I would take a leave of absence too. JC said the father is a blue-collar worker. Okay. Great. So he has a respectable career. He goes to work every day. He has to because he has 3 kids and he got a wife at home to take care of. So he shows up and does his job every day. So interesting that his kid would be bringing a knife around with him. Again, I understand the aggressive tendencies of a young man. I have once been that age. I understand the aggressive tendencies, but it never got to the point that I said I'm going to bring this knife with me to school. So that part is what we need to understand. We need to find that out. And listen, the dad may be as perplexed as anybody about this. Why would my kid do this? Doesn't seem like the dad has a criminal history. Doesn't seem like it, but we'll see. Ashley said, you get all this money and spent on the wrong stuff. Well, we'll see what they actually spent it on. Some of that might not be true. Some of the things we heard that the family went and rented a house, a $900,000 house, and bought an Escalade. Those may not be true, ladies and gentlemen. So those of you who have come to believe that might not be the true story. Because from what I heard earlier is that the family already resides in a gated community. So they don't need to go anywhere for safety. You already got safety. You're in a gated community. Nobody can get in the community without getting through the gate. So if they're already in a gated community, they don't need to move anywhere. So that might not be true. And then as far as the Escalade, I've also heard, again, I don't know if it's true, but I've also heard they already had an Escalade, that they did not just go get it. So be careful buying into these things you hear on the internet. Again, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, especially on the internet, because people will lie on the internet for any reason or for no reason at all. Kelly said his employment was not specified. Okay, so nobody knows exactly what he does. All right, fine. We don't need to know what he does. But the guy clearly has some semblance of sense to have, 3 kids, a wife, that's 4 mouths to feed, including his own. And they seem to have a nice life. He's married and man, woman, child, 2-parent household. All right, the guy has to have some level of sense. So that's why it doesn't make sense to me that they picked Mr. Alexander. Baby Kate said he's overwhelmed, probably can't think straight. That's a fair enough assumption. Same thing I said. I give him a benefit of the doubt. Traditional said, how can you stop it from raining? Well, what he was saying, Traditional, was that maybe they shouldn't have had the event in the first place because the rain meant they couldn't actually do the track events. So basically what he's saying, he's blaming the school for even having the event in the first place because if they didn't have the event, then his client, so to speak, couldn't have stabbed the white boy. But again, that's why it sounds stupid. What point are you making? So the leadership coach said, who, the dad? No, I'm talking about their representative, who is some random guy. I don't know how he got in, but he got in. Jennifer, thanks for the follow. Ashley said, I bet you the car in the house will be going next year when the taxes need to be paid. Well, Ashley, let's not assume that those stories are true. Let's assume that they're not till we know for sure. My crazy life, thanks for the follow. Maya Burton, good morning to you. No, the representative leadership coach. We're not talking about the dad. We don't know much about the dad, and they should keep it that way. We don't want to know. You don't want all your business out for the world to know about for any reason. That's just the way that I look at things. I got some friends who like to tell everybody all their business. Not always a good idea. Ashley said, there's something in the medical field we call scope of practice that helps us all know what we can and cannot do in this field. Yeah, I think everybody has that in certain industries, especially licensed industries, like what you're doing. Same thing in the legal industry. The thing is, this guy's not bound by those rules because he ain't a lawyer. So that's the thing. So he can do whatever he wants. Kudo said aggravated assault. Is that what he had? Yeah, I think I saw that somewhere. Stephanie said the court of public opinion can be worse. That is true, Stephanie. But when you're in real court and you're in criminal court, then the court of public opinion ain't that big of a deal because you're thinking about your actual life. Opinions come and go, but you actually losing 20 years of your life in jail is a real thing. Ed said, damn, just goes to show personality, likability goes a long way. Yes, it does. And that's really what these cases come down to, folks. These cases come down to personality and likability, especially a civil case where it's my word against yours. Criminal case is a little bit different because it's the state against the person. But in a civil case, it's all about me versus you. And in a civil case, you got to take the stand. I believe in a civil case, you must take the stand. I don't think you have a right to plead the fifth in a civil case. But I might be wrong about that. But either way, Mark Zuckerberg looked bad in the movie, and I think that's what happened in real life too. This is why he settled with the Winklevi, as he said as a joke, the Winklevoss twins, because his personality was just so prickly that the jury probably didn't like him, and they were going to rule against him regardless of the facts. This is why, folks, I tell you, stay out of court. Stay out of court. Because in court, it comes down to the subjective opinion of jury members, and jury members are human just like you. GPA was a 3.7. All right, close enough. He went to school every day. We can agree to that. He went to school. He did his work. All right, good enough to get a 3.7. That's higher. I don't think I ever had a 3.7. Maybe in high school, but not in college. Teresa said, from what I've seen, they were about the same size. Yeah, so that's what I saw as well. The white kid wasn't that much bigger than the black kid that is like, I fear for my life because this white kid approached me. That's not yeah. Leadership coach said, is he someone they have been following? So maybe this is why they are in this position. Maybe. That's a possibility, leadership coach. It's a good point. Mike said, maybe that's all the family could afford. I'm not sure they paid him. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I think he's just using this as an opportunity for himself. I don't think they might not have paid him anything. Maybe they just said, maybe he said, hey, let me represent you. He'll use it to boost up his brand. And then based on the boost of his brand, he can make money doing other things. And if this case goes a certain way, that is what will happen. He don't need no money from them. Just doing this case is enough to build his brand up. JC66 said, Carmelo character will come out in court having Alexander is a bad choice. Well, people are going to talk about his character in court, but he's going to have people saying positive things. He's going to have people saying negative things. So the problem is he's going to have people on both sides. I doubt he's going to take the stand. He probably shouldn't take the stand. And Mr. Alexander's presence is going to get used against his defense. That's the problem. Was what is not supposed to happen. Mike said optics do matter. Yes, they matter a lot. Jesse said, I think they're using him because he has the resources they could use, the security I know of. Okay, so he provides security. If they even need security. Again, do we actually know that they really need security? I don't believe that people, random anonymous accounts on social media talking shit to you does not count as a death threat in my book. So they're saying they're getting death threats. Everybody says they get death threats. Who you get a death threat from? You got a death threat from Mike Guy 06424 on X 2 days ago in a DM. Is that really a death threat? Is that real? That you consider that a death? I don't consider that a death threat. But people call anything a death threat. They want to paint themselves as a victim. So now everybody gets death threats. If somebody left a comment on your post on Facebook, a nameless account with no picture says, oh, you deserve to die. Oh, I got a death threat. Now I need security. Nah, I'm not buying that. Leadership coach said everyone wears a uniform. That's true. Well, some people do it more intensely than others. Coyne said the lawyer's on trial as much as the kid. Yes, that guy's not the lawyer, though. He's just a representative. He's not the lawyer. If he was the lawyer, that kid, Carmelo, would be in trouble. But he's not and he couldn't be a lawyer getting in front of the cameras talking the way he was talking anyway. Lawyer would not say the stuff that he was saying yesterday. A lawyer knows how to be precise and knows what to say and what not to say because the lawyer understands anything said could be used against their entire case. So a lawyer would not have been talking as loosely as that guy was talking. JC said, removing Mr. Metcalf looked bad on Carmelo, bad move. Well, Carmelo wasn't there. I think it was just his parents. And no, I don't know if removing him looked bad. I think it was just what the guy said after he got removed. That's what looked crazy. Tristan said, that man sounds illiterate. Yeah, he's not literate enough. That we can say. Live Free said, Dre, you represent the family. I could do a better job than Dominic Alexander, but I'm a little bit too down the middle on this. They probably wouldn't want me. Teresa said, I thought Carmelo had 3 attorneys. He better have 3 attorneys. And that guy's not one of them, though. So we don't know who his attorneys are just yet. Jesse said, you're a very intelligent man and great to listen to. Thank you, Jesse. Kelly said, removing the victim's dad was wrong. No, okay. If any of you think that, that's fine. I'm indifferent. I mean, it was his press conference. The press conference was for Carmelo. So the dad showing up made people uncomfortable, and you get him removed because you just don't want his presence there. I don't have a problem with that. Some people saying it was wrong. That's fine if you feel that way. I don't think they're not out of bounds removing him because it's his press conference. So if you don't want that guy at the press conference, you can kick him out. Mike said he's remaining silent. Yeah. The state will overcome a self-defense claim in 5 minutes. Yeah, but the trial's still going to take weeks, even if they can. Nathan said, finally alive with sense. Thank you. Jesse said, my heart really hurts for his mama. Yes, I'm sure they're like, what the hell is going on? I don't think they raised their kids to bring a knife to settle a fist fight situation. So why he had the knife, that's the part we want to know. And the defense is going to have to explain that. Why is he walking around with a knife? That is going to be one of the key pieces of conversation in this trial, because I don't think Carmelo is going to take the stand. He probably shouldn't. But his defense must explain why this kid is walking around with a knife. Or for what point? Where are you going with that knife? Why do you need that? Jessica says, a sad situation all around. Yes, it is. Nuri, good morning. Hispy chick said, this kid has no chance with his current representation. Okay, so that dude is not the lawyer. Okay, so for everybody to understand, that guy who was talking yesterday, he is not a lawyer. He is not the lawyer. He's just a representative. And again, this is the reason why it's hurting Carmelo, because a lot of people think that guy's the lawyer because he's standing there talking as if he is the lawyer and is going to confuse people. And in the court of public opinion, this is going to hurt him. And the jury is coming from the public. This is the problem. JC said, Mr. Metcalf didn't want it about race from the beginning. Yes, that is true. He said that on camera. He did say that. Jesse said, I never heard of Unite the White. Well, me either. Until I saw that I saw it on social media that guy, Jake Long, is actually standing on this and saying, yes, Unite the White. Leadership coach said, this went from stabbing to race issue quick. Well, leadership coach, this became a race issue as soon as everybody found out that it was black versus white. So, yes, immediately. As soon as we found out who the suspect was and who the victim was, it immediately became a race issue. This is how it works in the United States. Laura said, murder is not okay in any situation. Well, murder is an unlawful killing. So you're correct. Murder is not okay because if you do something unlawful and you get caught, and if you murder somebody, you're probably going to get caught, you go to jail. So you're right. Killing can be okay. It depends on why you did it. So Kyle Rittenhouse, Daniel Penny, George Zimmerman all killed somebody, at least one person, and it was all found okay by the court. Now, they were all on trial, however, for murder. Now, had the court said the killing was not okay, then it becomes murder. Murder is actually a legal term, and that means you kill somebody unlawfully. Killing someone is an objective term because you could kill somebody unlawfully, you can kill somebody lawfully, known as self-defense. So right now, what's happening with Carmelo Anthony is he is on trial for murder, which means the state must prove he committed murder, which is an unlawful killing, or they could decide he did self-defense, which is a lawful killing. So we will see. Kuto said, I won't join, but they aren't wrong. Whites are discriminated against more than we realize. Okay, fair enough. I'm not white, but I understand that argument. I very much understand it, especially over the last 5 years. I do understand that. Ava said, but you can have BLM. What about BLM? Courtney said, I haven't heard about Unite the White till now. This is ridiculous. Well, again, equal and opposite reaction. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So BLM is the reason why Unite the White is a thing. And I can't tell them that they're wrong. You can't tell them that they're wrong because, again, look what BLM did. Look at all the attention BLM got. Shannon said they need to stop. It's not stopping. It's just getting started. Harris, thank you for the share. Shannon said, I won't be hustled. Well, at least not yet, Shannon. They're going to keep trying. Kelly said, end the race hustle. That's never happening. Kelly, race hustling will never end. We have to protect white Americans. Yeah, that's what they called it. So, Malachi Phoenix said, if only the facts of the incident were released without names or race, It's common sense. Yeah, well, politics demand that we know who did things. This is the way media works. We want to know who did it. We want to know. Just like that Florida State, you heard that there was an active shooter at Florida State University yesterday. They found a guy. Everybody want to know who's the guy. What's his background? Is he a Trump supporter? Is he left or is he right? Everybody wants to know. Why? Because then people can make news about it. You know, we created this world, ladies and gentlemen. We are responsible for this. Us, not the media. Us. We are media. All of us. So they found out it was a white guy. So now people are going to make it about white men. I blame the culture. I've seen people saying this today. Jesse says somebody trying to instigate for sure. Oh, Jesse, they're not trying. They're succeeding. User said, I think they're going to try to imply they're going to sue the school since he was expelled. Oh, yeah, I heard they were going to expel him. Thank you for bringing that up. The school is going to expel him based on that situation. And, yeah, they're going to probably try to sue the school. If that gets legs, then Ben Crump will show up. If that lawsuit gets legs, Ben Crump will be there. Mark my words. That one you can bet on. The doctoral student said, white are not so much against us, but imagine when they finally are, get what you've been begging for. Well, I don't think it's going to come to that point. The doctorate student, and we don't want it to come to that point because black people will be outnumbered in that case. We don't want it to come to that point. But there are some white people who are just tired of seeing the race hustlers stir up black people in one way, and they see it's successful. So they say, all right, well, why not stir up white people and do the same thing? Again, if it's working, people are going to copy it. That's how it works. Jessica, thank you for the follow. Those of y'all on TikTok, again, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. The links to both are in my profile on TikTok right now where you're watching me. Casey, thank you for the follow. Kudo, I appreciate you. Thank you for the team bracelet, Kelly. I lost my spot. There's a lot of comments coming in. Let's see. Did I lose a whole bunch of comments? I'm trying to get back to where I was. I got back to where I was. So let's see. Mike said, we are the media. Yes, we are media, folks. So any of you who doesn't like what's happening in the media, blame yourself. We are the ones making it. That's what it is. We're making the media. We make more media than CNN makes. Us, every day. Amber, good morning. Said, Carmelo should have fought with his fist if he needed to defend his body. Now somebody's baby is gone. Yeah, I mean, it was a schoolyard altercation, which happens every day. The question is, why did he have the knife, number one, and why did he use it, number two? Those are questions that must be answered. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Every young male is going to school every day, and we all been in confrontations, but I never saw anybody bring a knife with them and then use it unless they had like a serious issue or they had some serious issues in their own mind. Traditional, thank you for the rose. Kudos said, further down, you'll see full charges. Okay. Let's see. Novella said, even if the hustling costs lives in the end, Novella, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. If hustling will get you something and it costs other people something, you may do it anyway. I mean, think of Jay-Z. He was a drug dealer. Do drugs help you live or they make you die? Usually drugs do bad things to you, but he still sold them to help himself. Leadership coach said, I didn't know about that side of Instagram. That's because you're a female. Leadership coach, ask your husband or your son or any man in your life who has an Instagram account, do you see ass models on Instagram? They'll tell you. Any men in here, do you see ass models on Instagram or is that just my feed? Is it only me who sees that? Not my feed, excuse me, the Explore tab. I don't follow any of them, but I see it. J-Bo, I already talked about that yesterday. The Supreme Court Donald Trump thing I talked about yesterday. Watch my replay on my YouTube channel. Unapologetic, thank you for the follow. My YouTube link is in my profile, by the way, on TikTok. Joe Byron said it's easy to get suspended on TikTok. Yeah, tell me about it, Joe. That was the 9th time I've been suspended since August. I've been suspended 9 times in 8 months. Disciple said, are you based or a Diddycrat? What does that even mean? You offer me, that sounds like a false binary that you're offering me, even though I don't even know what you mean. Mike said he will continue to stay away. Mark my words, I work for him. Who are you talking about? You talking about Alexander? JC said, closer to trial, we will see more representatives come out of woodwork. Yes, when a trial date is set. We don't have a trial date yet. So as soon as the trial date is set, that's when the real work begins. Because I heard some lawyers talk about this, that they said that if Carmelo Anthony has a reasonable attorney, that attorney is going to go to the state's attorney, also known as the prosecution. They're going to go to them and say, look, let's work this out. We don't want to risk this kid getting 20 years taken off of his life. How about we work this out and come to a reasonable number and get a plea deal, and maybe get 7 or 8 years for this kid rather than going to trial and risking him getting 20 or 30 years. And they said if Carmelo has a reasonable attorney, they'll do that. Now, if the attorneys believe, Carmelo's attorney or attorneys believe that they can actually win on self-defense, then they're going to go to trial and try to win this case. And I think it's going to come down to, first of all, who's the judge, because the judge determines what information is admissible in court and what's not. And then it's going to come down to the jury selection and all of that stuff. It depends on who their attorneys are, and just the temperature of the room is going to depend on where this trial takes place, because it can't happen in Frisco. They cannot have this trial in Frisco. The jury pool is tainted. So all of these things, once we know these things, here's the trial date, here's the judge, here's where they're having the case, here's how we're going to do jury selection. Once we know those things, then the lawyers for Carmelo are going to look at the situation, and they're going to look at the temperature and decide, does it make sense to try this, or should we just try to plea and just get this kid less years instead of taking a risk? That's what's going to happen. But we don't have any of that information yet. But I think this case is going to happen pretty quickly. I guess before the end of the year, this whole thing will be done. Right now is April. Yeah, I say by the end of the year, we'll know. King Works on Instagram said, do you approve of the White Lives Matter movement? It's not about whether I approve or not. I already explained this. I don't know if you just came in the middle here, King Works, is that I understand where the people who started it are coming from, because the law of energy is equal and opposite force. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if Black Lives Matter stood up and that it got all that attention and all that praise and all that money, then eventually some white people are going to look at Black Lives Matter, which was a scam. That's my opinion. And they say, well, if these guys had that scam and they got people excited about it, well, why can't we do it for white people? And now they're doing it. And now they got a reason to do it, because now they got this white kid dead at the hands of a black kid, and people are defending the black kid. They're like, well, fuck that. We need to rally our people. There's nothing wrong with that. They have a legitimate reason for doing it. Would I do that? No. Same way I didn't do Black Lives Matter. But I understand. Same way I understood why people got excited about Black Lives Matter. Even though I didn't, I understand why many black people did. In the same way, I'm not even white, but I understand why people get excited about White Lives Matter, or what do they say? Protect white Americans, whatever they're calling this stuff. What was the name of that rally? I forgot the name already. Unite the White. Again, it sounds silly, but I understand it. I understand why they're doing it. Look at BLM. If BLM was accepted, then why can't this be accepted? That's a legitimate argument. Sean Queen said, why is no one talking about that story? Which one? JC said, it's not that he carries a knife, it's that he carried to a school event, which is what people want to know. I want to know why he's carrying a knife at all. Well, unless you plan on using it, what are you carrying a knife for? If you're carrying a knife is a deadly weapon, depending on how you use it. The way he used it, use it as a deadly weapon. If you're carrying a deadly weapon with you, that means for some reason, there's something in your head that says, I might need this. I'm trying to figure out what that is. That's what I want to know. Why are you carrying that if you're not, unless you're thinking about somehow, some way you might need to use it? So what is that reason? That's what I want to know. And we're not going to know that during the trial, at least not out of his mouth. Maybe after the trial, he might talk. The kid himself, he's not going to talk during the trial. I don't think that'd be a good idea. Trevel Man said, don't believe the BS about the family. Yeah, I don't think the stories about the family are true. So all of you heard that story that they rented a $900,000 house and they bought an Escalade with the money from the Give, Send, Go. I don't think that's true. And until you can verify it, don't believe it. There's lies being spread. Yes, I think that's what I'm saying. So it's lies on both sides. There are people on both sides of this conversation trying to make the Anthony family look bad, and they're trying to make the Metcalf. Well, I don't know how you make their family look bad. The kid's already dead. But there are people throwing stuff on both sides. Why? Because it keeps everybody excited. It doesn't even matter if it's true or not. I bet you there are people on the side of defending Carmelo Anthony who are going to anonymously pump up the story of the house and the Escalade just because it gets white people mad and excited, and they can just draw more attention and they can just benefit from the attention. These days, attention is the currency, folks. If you can do something to get attention, then people will do it. Again, you get on social media. How many times do you see somebody? I can't tell you how many times I'll open up TikTok, not to scroll. I do not scroll on social media. I open up TikTok. Is almost always 90% of the time when I open up TikTok, here's what I see. Is I don't have the sound on, so I can't hear it. But there's a girl on there, and she's moving in some way that I can tell some music is playing. And then after about 2 seconds, she starts dancing, and eventually she turns around and she's showing her ass. That's 90% of the time when I open up TikTok, that's what I see. Now, why is that? Is it because all of a sudden everybody decided to be a dancer and show off their ass? No, because it draws attention, and attention is the currency in media. These days, the number one way to have currency in media is to draw attention. And whatever you got to do to get attention, you do it. This is the reason why we have ass models. So all you ladies out there who don't know about the ass model industry, ask your husband. Actually, don't ask him, because he probably should lie to you that he doesn't know nothing about it either. Ask a man that you trust who can tell you the truth. You can trust me. I just told you the truth. Strong Queen said, what about the other Texas stabbing? Nobody knows about the other one, Strong Queen. So whichever one you're talking about, nobody knows. That's the whole point. Carl said, my kids just had a track meet in the rain. Yeah, I've seen track events in the rain before. And again, this guy, Dominique, that's the reason why he shouldn't be speaking. Trevel Man said, people seem to find it hard to believe that two-parent black households exist. Maybe some people believe that. Some people find it hard to believe because of what we see in the media. What we see in the media is a lot of, well, first of all, factually, there's an issue with there not being enough two-parent black households. I believe the majority, I don't know what the stats are majority-wise, but I believe the majority are two-parent, but maybe they're not. I haven't checked the stats in terms of recently, but I understand what you're saying, that some people do find it hard to believe, especially given how we got introduced to this kid. So the way we got introduced to this kid was he has a knife with him at school. He stabbed another kid over a schoolyard incident. He probably doesn't have two parents at home. That's the assumption that people would have. And if you told me that story and said, Dre, some black kid went to high school, brought a knife, stabbed another kid over a disagreement, do you think this kid has two parents at home or not? I say he's 17, he bought a knife and he stabbed somebody over what was essentially an argument, and he stabbed somebody. Do I think he has two parents at home? I would say probably not. My guess would be probably not. So then when I find out he does have two parents at home, now I got more questions than answers. All right, what the hell is going through this kid's mind? He's bringing a knife with him to school. Something doesn't make sense. So that's what we want to find out. Courtney said, unless there's lightning, sports keep going. All right, well, there you go. Again, that's why Dominique shouldn't be talking. That's the whole point. Pamela said, just went to see the lawyer. Well, we don't know who the lawyer is yet. Carla said, why have a press conference? Because they're trying to control the narrative. That's what they're trying to do. Trivial Man said, Gloria Allred is a gender hustler. That's a good title, gender hustler. She is a gender hustler. You're correct about that. I agree. Unapologetic said, juries have to say if they can prove without a shadow of a doubt. Yes, beyond a reasonable doubt. Yes, they have to say it. Doesn't mean that's why they chose what they chose. The jury they all got to come to one conclusion and they give one verdict. So the OJ trial, know why OJ got off? Because the jury didn't trust the prosecution. That's why OJ got off. It's not because of the glove. It's not because they like OJ. It's not so much because of restoration from Rodney King. It's because the prosecution was proven to not be trustworthy. And in order to get a verdict, a guilty verdict, you must remove all doubt. There must be no reasonable doubt whatsoever. All the defense had to do, Johnny Cochran and those guys, Robert Shapiro, Robert Kardashian, F. Lee Bailey, all those guys, all they had to do, Alan Dershowitz, all they had to do was just poke holes in the believability of the prosecution. That's all they had to do. And they didn't need to prove that OJ was innocent. They just need to prove that the prosecution is not telling the truth. They did that successfully. That's why OJ got off. Prosecuting is a very hard job because you have to make such an airtight case that there's no way you could possibly be wrong. Very tough job. That's why defense attorneys get paid so much money. Novella said, kids are seeing celeb status, emotional and financial support as the outcome. Well, I mean, isn't that what's happening? I mean, how many of you got kids who are in their teens right now who say they want to grow up and become YouTubers or TikTokers or influencers? Put me in the comments if any of you has that has happened. Any of you has a kid who's in their teens and they say they want to be a YouTuber, TikToker, or influencer when they grow up. Not a firefighter, not a policeman, not a teacher, not a doctor, not a scientist. They want to be a YouTuber. That's what I've heard. I mean, I don't have kids that age, but that's what I've heard. Kudo said, wonder why the attorneys are allowing this. They might not have. Do they have an attorney yet? Do they actually have a person who has said this, I'm the attorney? Mike said the threats and racist comments are out of control on Twitter. Yeah, but a lot of them are coming from anonymous people, so we don't even know if they're real. Again, it might be people just stirring up shit for no reason. Trivial Man said they need to keep race out of it. Yeah, good luck. That ain't happening. Not happening. Novella said the Metcalf family was swatted on Thursday. I believe that. So the lawyer was there. He was silent, standing to the side. Oh, is that true? Or are you talking about the dad? The lawyer was there. Lil J says, does the dad have a no contact order? From who? I mean, it's his kid who got stabbed. So who's he going to have a no contact order from? Fifth Element said the restraining order may have made the removal. Oh, he does have a restraining order. Oh, okay. Learn something new. So there's a restraining order by the Anthony family against the Metcalf dad. Huh, interesting. If that's case, if that's true. Triple Man said if it's a high profile case, they might be able to. Yeah, they probably could. So a couple of you asking about the no contact order. I don't know. Oh, to get the pro bono lawyer. Well, they might, depending on who the lawyer is. And if the lawyer wants to do that, what does the lawyer gain from it? I think they got enough money to hire a lawyer. They better hire one. Monica followed the creator. Thank you, Monica. Good morning. Novella Metcalf said they're hurting for both kids. Already forgave the kid. Yeah, I heard him say that the day that it happened. The mom was swatted. Okay. The Metcalf mom was swatted. VOO, thanks for the follow. When I see VOO, I think about the S&P 500. Trevor Man said you probably get a manslaughter case. Yeah, we don't know what the official charges are yet. I think they may lower it from a murder charge. A murder charge is a very hard one to prove. That's a very high burden of proof for the prosecution. And if they set it there, then they might end up coming up short because they overcharged. So the prosecution has to be careful how they decide to charge this. Jade said, murder is irrelevant in this case. What do you mean? Jade Smith, realtor. What do you mean is irrelevant? Okay, because this be considered voluntary manslaughter. Yeah, it could. That's why, again, I said that when it first happened is that we'll see what the official charge is. Right now, he's been charged for murder, but they can change that. So murder in the state of Texas, that's a very high bar that they have to clear to prove murder. And the defense, rather, might say, you know what, we could probably beat this. They got to prove murder. We might be able to beat this. But if they lower it, then the defense might say, I don't know if we want to risk this one. Maybe we'll just take a plea. So that's what we got to find out. We don't know yet. AU said Carmelo knew he shouldn't have been where he was, or perhaps he wanted the confrontation. Maybe. But how did he know the white kid was going to say something to him? See, that part, that's where the story kind of falls apart. Because what if he just sat there and nobody said anything to him? What's he going to do with the knife? So there still leaves some holes in the story. He didn't force the white kid to come talk to him. So how did he know that was going to happen? He didn't. I don't think he could have known. Trevo Man said, wonder if he had the knife because he was being bullied. Possibly, but by who? Bullied by who? It's not like he walked up to the bully with the knife and did something with it. He walked up and just sat down, according to what we know. He was sitting in the seat he wasn't supposed to sit in. He wasn't talking to anybody or bothering anybody. So, again, he's walking around with the knife. If he's looking for his bully, where was the bully? Not where he went. So that part still, everything ain't adding up just yet. Amber said, what do you think bought on a need for BLM? Come on now, bro. Yes, the need for BLM was brought on after the Trayvon Martin. That's when BLM popped up, Trayvon Martin. And a lot of people were excited for BLM for 7 years until 2020 when they got a lot more attention. And then people started looking at their website and they said, we want to disrupt the nuclear family and we want to center around communities that are focused on women and children. They completely eliminated the need for the black man on BLM's mission statement on their website. And when they started to get a lot of attention for that, a bunch of people who were lining up with BLM said, I'm not messing with BLM, the organization. I just support BLM, the idea. And that's when BLM eventually, they basically fell apart after that. But they ate very good for 7 years before that happened. BLM's movement was by 3 women who were all about centering women and children. They completely didn't even mention black men. And they're talking about Black Lives Matter. The reason Black Lives Matter came to exist is because of the death of black men. But the organization didn't even want to talk about black men. That's another reason why BLM was a scam, amongst many other reasons. So let's see. Where are we? I'm trying to get back to where I was in the comments. All right, I got that. So Amber, hopefully that answers your question. Joe Byron said, do you believe race hustlers noted their race hustling? I don't think they want to be called race hustlers. I've called many of them race hustlers directly, and they don't like that. But I believe that they are fighting the good fight, and it just happens to be race as the topic. That's what I believe they believe. I don't think they think they're hustling anybody. I don't think anybody you tell them that they're hustling people, nobody's going to accept that. It's a pejorative. So when I call people race hustlers, it is a pejorative. It's a pejorative label, but I always try to explain it by saying I don't actually think that I'm not criticizing them by calling them that, even though I kind of am. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. I'm just pointing out their hustle. And nobody wants their hustle exposed if they are indeed hustling. That's why a lot of them end up blocking me on social media. But some of them will continue to engage even when I call them race hustlers. Carl in Indiana said, we have allowed our people to become what it is. Yes, we have. Yeah, so Kudo, you got it. The FSU guy. Org said, OG Rose, I live in Dallas. You can feel the tension in the air. Well, we'll see where they have this trial. That's what we're waiting on. Where are they going to have this trial is what we need to know. Those of y'all watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. The links are both in my profile. Michelle said, I'm tired of the hate and division in this world. Michelle, get yourself a Red Bull and a Snickers because it ain't changing. Now it's about to get worse. My prediction is about to get worse, especially in America. As long as Trump is president, there's going to be division because a lot of people don't like him and a lot of people do like him. So there's your division right there. And in other countries as well, as long as they keep keeping their borders open and people are coming in through open borders and doing the wrong things, there's going to be pushback by the natives, including in the United States. So Farcast said, our young do not value life, nor do they understand death is final. Well, some don't. Duck Going Buck said, rumor going around there was a cleat sharpener, not a knife. Interesting. We'll see if that ends up being the case. Either way, I don't know if that mitigates the fact that he used it as a deadly weapon. That's the problem. Georgia said, that's my main question. Why did he feel the need to carry a knife around? Yeah, that's what I want to know too. Why did he even have it in the first place is what I want to know. Mary today said, we are all God's children. We all bleed red. I wish we would love and respect each other. Well, keep wishing. It sounds like Martin Luther King. He said, remember what Martin Luther King said? He said, I have a dream that one day people will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Martin is still dreaming because that ain't happening. We are judging people by the color of their skin. Belladonna, thank you for the follow. Florida girl said, you don't know D.A. Greg Willis. Do I know him? No, I do not. Who is D.A. Greg Willis? Or Doug Greg Willis? I don't know what you're saying. Georgia says, some of these hosts are outrageous. You're the most sensible and well-spoken host I'll come across. Well, Georgia, understand something. And I appreciate the compliment. If I was more outrageous and I would just pick a side in this and just be more animated on one side or the other of this conversation, the black side or the white side, so to speak, there'd be 10 times more people watching this live right now. All right, and that's what people need to understand. When I was doing this live yesterday, people are like, why you be talking about Trump? Some people who I guess know about my material outside of talking about Trump, not talking about him today or outside of current events. And I said to them, because when I talk about him, it draws more attention. If I talk about evergreen things like what my books are about and what I do coaching and speaking and consulting about, which is personal development, professional development, business building, entrepreneurship, communication, leadership, there'd be fewer people listening to that than are listening to this topic. And again, if I was more rambunctious, so to speak, on either side of this argument, I would have a whole lot more people. That's what people pay attention to. This is what it is. Supply and demand, folks. Supply and demand. I tell women, if you want to get a whole bunch more followers on social media, just take your clothes off. If you're willing to take your clothes off, take them off. You get a lot more followers on social media. Now, if you're not willing to take your clothes off, the trade-off of not taking your clothes off is that you will not have as much attention as you could have if you did take your clothes off. That is the reality of the world that we live in, folks. Certain things draw attention and that get a lot more attention than other things. The more substance you bring to the table, the less attention you will get, simply because not as many people are interested in substance. You give people entertainment, you will get a lot more audience than if you give people substance. And that's what I was saying to people yesterday when I was doing this live, and somebody's like, why are you always talking about Trump? Because if I talk about something of substance, I don't get as many people. But understand, it's not like I'm selling out for attention. If I was selling out for attention, I wouldn't even be talking about this. I would talk about something else. And I know how to sell out for attention, trust me. But I don't want to. I'd rather have substance than sell out and just get as much attention as possible, because I know how to get the attention of the average person. Most of you who are in here listening to this, especially those of you who listen to me consistently, if I wanted to just get a whole bunch of attention, I wouldn't talk the way that I talk. I wouldn't present myself the way I present myself. I would do a lot of things differently. So that's just the game. That's just the game that we're in, Georgia. If you want to talk substance, you're talking about 2% of people. And if you want to go and do the silliness and the shenanigans, now you open yourself up to a much larger audience of people. That's just life. I mean, think about it. Kim Kardashian makes more money than all the teachers in the state of California put together every year. All the teachers in the state of California is a big state. All the teachers put together do not make as much money as Kim Kardashian. Now, why is that? Does she have more substance than all the teachers put together? No. But she got more fans. She got a bigger audience. She's more known. She got more followers on social media. And what does she do? Now, what substance does she bring to the table? None of you could answer the question. How'd she get famous initially? Because of her ass. She's a pretty girl with ass, and she showed it off. And that's how all of a sudden everybody's paying attention to her. And that's what it is. So, I mean, this is the world that we're in, folks. Baby Ruth said, are you the one who's running for office in Dallas? No, I do not live in Dallas. I live in South Florida. And that is not me, and I'm not running for any office. Debbie, thank you for the follow. Purple Vapor said, young kid, regardless intentionally, don't think so. What is the punishment? Prison is not the answer. Purple Vapors, I don't know about that one. Don't know about that one. You take somebody's life, you might end up in prison. UTW says, I'm white and that sounds ridiculous. Yeah, I get it. For most of you, it probably sounds ridiculous, even if you're white. But at the same time, I understand. JC said, in Texas, a lot of people carry a knife. Okay, it's fine to carry a knife. It's fine to carry a gun if that's what you want to do. What I'm wondering is why that kid was carrying a knife or a gun. Does he always carry a knife? Does he always carry something? Why was he carrying it that day? He does need to answer that question, or his lawyer is going to have to answer it. Vu said, I keep a knife in my car at all times. Again, nothing wrong with you having it. We want to know why you had it. Jade Smith said he doesn't owe anyone a reason for carrying a weapon. Yes, he does. He owes the court a reason because that's going to get asked at trial. And at trial, he will have to answer that question. His lawyer will have to answer that question. And if he doesn't answer it, that's going to, I would think, hurt his case. Georgia says, some of these hosts are just wanting an argument not to find the facts. Yes, because argument draws attention. I mean, look at TV, folks. Look at sports TV. Stephen A. Smith, what does he do? He just argues. He's the most popular guy in sports. All he does is debate with people on whatever he has to say. And he says it in a way that even if he's agreeing with you, it's almost like he's arguing. Why is he the most popular guy? Because this is what people pay attention to. Supply and demand, everybody. It is being supplied because people are demanding it. So, Georgia, the host you're talking about, the reason they're doing that is because people like it. And they like it by giving it attention. When you give attention to something, you are telling the producer that you want more of it. So, as I said, ass models on Instagram exist because people look at their posts. If nobody was looking at it, they wouldn't be doing it. Maddie said, bring back the after-school specials of the 80s. They taught kids how to relate to each other. Well, Maddie, that would require them to actually watch the after-school special. That's the part you're missing. Why would I watch an after-school special when I could scroll TikTok? You got to compete against TikTok. Boss Mom, thank you for the follow. Duck going buck. Do we even know it was a knife? I heard it was a cleat sharpener. It made sense because he runs track. Okay, maybe it was. Either way, he used it as a deadly weapon. You can turn anything into a deadly weapon the way you use it. He could be walking around with a baseball bat because he plays baseball. But you swing that bat at somebody's head and kill them, you still have to answer for why you did it. So let's say it was a cleat sharpener. Then that answers the question of, okay, why did he have a knife? But it still doesn't answer the question of why did you decide to pull that out in defense of yourself instead of walking away, fighting, or whatever. He still hasn't answered that question. And it's proportionality when it comes to self-defense. If you claim self-defense, you have to show that you were defending yourself against something that was basically equal to or greater than what you did. So if somebody touches me on the shoulder at the mall and I pull out a gun and shoot them, the proportionality doesn't match up. I'm going to jail because I did way more than what they did. You can't just do whatever you want and claim self-defense and get away with it. So a lot of people tend to not understand that. SB Hart, appreciate your content. Thank you. Pray for others. Thank you. Michelle said, people need to do research. His Get Send Go still has the money there. They haven't spent it. Yes, I've heard that. But at the same time, if I know that Give Send Go is giving me that money, I can still go to someone and get a loan for the same amount of money because I know the money's coming. Roy Don Ken Joyer said, literally your algorithm. Yeah, I get it, Roy Don. The thing is that they keep showing you different stuff. Like I've been on Instagram. I have done experiments on Instagram, right? I'll go to the Explore tab and I won't scroll. I won't do anything. I'll just look at it and not do anything, not tap on anything, not open anything, just look at it and then not use it. And then the next day, they'll change everything that's on the Explore tab and show me a whole different set of things. So they'll show me like basketball videos, Michael Jordan or some animals or something like that for a day, literally a day. And if I don't scroll or touch anything, the next day when I come back and look at the Explore tab, they show me a whole different set of material. And if I don't look at that, the next day is a whole different set. And they just keep trying stuff until I scroll or I tap on something. And then they show me more of whatever I may have scrolled or tapped on. So they'll show me basketball sometimes. Sometimes they'll show me like animals attacking animals because I've looked at that. Sometimes they'll show me ass models because I have clicked on ass model pictures. I mean, what do you expect? I'm a heterosexual male. I have clicked on ass model pictures before. So all they do is just go through, all right, here's all the things Dre has ever clicked on. Let's just keep showing him different versions of these and see which one works. That's how the algorithm works. So, and let's also be clear, Roy. All right, I ain't the only one clicking on ass model pictures. Sometimes I see people got millions of followers. I don't follow any ass models. Zero. Look at my Instagram. Everything's public. You don't see me following no ass models on no app, but they got millions of followers. So it ain't me. All right, let's be clear. All right. Georgia said, I'm really sad because I wish they could have just fought it out. Or maybe they didn't even have to fight. Didn't even have to come to that. Sugar said, it's all legs, Dre. Right. Zach said, speaking logical and not emotional, I can listen to you all day. Well, thank you, Zach. The lady said 2 other incidents in Texas. It was probably more than that. Probably more than 2 incidents. Jen said, the dad went to the press conference, was asked to leave and left. Imagine that. No one hurt. There you go. Duck said, I heard it wasn't on school grounds, a community center type thing. Well, it was at a stadium. So I believe that stadium belongs to a school. Lady said, they live in a nice neighborhood. Doesn't make sense. Generally, it doesn't. Doesn't mean you can't be a bad person in a nice neighborhood. But generally, you're correct. Florida said he had a long history of having anger issues, had a discipline problem back in February. You talking about the kid? Well, anger issues, I don't know. So here's the thing about things being diagnosed at schools by counselors and teachers is that they have so much, the educational system and the judicial system and the medical system has so much expanded the definition of terms that now it seems like more and more people are having more and more of these cases when it's actually the same as it's always been. We just have different ways of languaging it now than we had in the past. When I talk about RFK Jr., maybe on Monday, we're going to talk about that a lot. Because when you expand the definition of something, now it seems like more people have it. When it's the same number of people as before, it's just the expanded definition means now all of a sudden more people, quote unquote, qualify for the thing. So that's the problem. It's kind of like what they did with the virus. Anybody who had it, even if you died in a car accident, if your body tested positive for it, they marked it as a death from the virus, which doesn't make any sense. But what it did was help sensationalize the story that more people had the virus or that they were dying from the virus. So Kudo says 63% single parent households, but it has decreased to 42% favoring 2-parent homes. So wait a minute, 63% single parent households in 2022, but now is only 42% single parent households? Kudo, I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding your info here. You're saying that 42% of black households are 2-parent or that they're single parent? Which one? Kevin King said, and he did lose his civil case. Who are you talking about? Zuckerberg? Okay. Mike said, everything is alleged. Please don't buy into the hype. Yes, everything is alleged until it's adjudicated in court. That is correct. Everything is allegedly. Even the stabbing is allegedly for now. Even though he admitted to it, quote unquote, it's still allegedly until it's adjudicated in the court of law. Georgia says, so many different stories think we just need to wait for the real evidence. Well, Georgia, good luck with that. There's a reason why everyone's talking about this because we don't wait. We talk about it immediately. So Kudo said 42% 2-parent home in the black community, or you mean all parents, Kudo? Are we talking just black or all parents? Let's see. Where are we? I lost my spot again. Okay, I think I found my spot again. Jade Smith said, I missed that. Jen said, none. My kids are all in college and in the Air Force. Oh, so black, 42%? Okay, that sounds about right. Thank you for that information. OJ defense team was full of heavy hitters that were well known. Yeah, OJ had the best defense team in history. That was the best legal defense team ever. That was a dream team. That's what they called themselves, right? The dream team? Or they didn't call themselves that, but they were called the dream team. That was a dream team that OJ had. No one knows the whole backstory. Horrific, yes. One stab, kids in a minute. Intentional homicide, no. Do I think it was intentional homicide? Well, it depends. That's a legal argument that the lawyers have to make. Anthony's new attorney is Michael Howard. I don't know who Michael Howard is. Vu said YouTube is a business where you're on your own time. Well, YouTube itself is a business, but I warn influencers to not build your business on any social media platform. Use them, but don't build your business there because they can take your whole business from you and with a click of a button. That includes TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all of them. Jen said, well, he had the same judge all the way through the process. I do not believe that black woman who set his bail is the judge for the case. She's not the judge for the case. She was just the judge for the bail hearing. Thank you, Marky Man. Good to see you. Florida girl says, similar cases in Texas have filed for first-degree murder. Yeah, I know. But every case is unique. Every little detail must be considered when they decide what to file, because they got to file something that they think they can win. Again, the prosecution shouldn't just go for the highest thing they can pick. They got to pick something they think they can win, because if you charge a super high charge and you can't prove that, but you could have proved this one, and then you end up losing because you only charged this one, then you end up losing the case. So they got to pick and choose, like, which one should we try for, because you don't want to try for something that you lose. Florida said, Anthony was saying inappropriate things before he was asked to leave. According to stories, allegedly, Florida girl. We don't know that to be true yet. I need to hear somebody say it on the stand before I accept any of these stories, not just you, but any story about what happened. Only thing we know for sure is that there was a verbal altercation, somebody touched somebody, and then a stabbing happened. That's all we know for sure. Everything else is conjecture. I want to hear everybody get on the stand and say on the stand under oath what happened. If they didn't say it under oath, I don't believe it. Again, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Jen said he was talking trash while sitting there. Again, same comment. Half of what you see, none of what you hear. Kimberly, right after that, he sat in their tent looking for trouble. Half of what you see, none of what you hear. All right, don't believe anything until they get on a stand and swear under oath that they said that's what happened. Because when you lie to the internet, there are no penalties. You lie under oath. It's called perjury. You can go to jail for that. So let me hear you say that same story on the stand. That's what I want to hear. I don't care what anybody said happened. Let me hear you say it on the stand under oath. Until then, I don't believe you. Florida said, I witnessed it, said Anthony was saying inappropriate things. Okay, let me hear that eyewitness get on the stand. That's what I'm saying. Get on the stand and say it. Florida said, Anthony used provocation with intent. Yes, possibly he did. Possibly. But again, depends on what the lawyers argue. They got to do that in courts. Carla said, they know they're hustling because Sharpton knew the story he was pushing was a lie. T. Bro. Yes. Okay. That one I get. I understand what you're saying. Jen said, you're a very reasonable young man. Thank you for these lives. Thank you. Mike said, don't fall into the traps. All hearsay and allegations so far. Yes, folks. Florida girl, you're making assertions that we don't know are true yet. Again, these have to be proven in court. I get that you heard the story, and maybe you heard it from many people, but it still must be proven. Mary Today said, is it self-defense if you have the option to walk away instead of killing? In any state that has a stand your ground law, yes, you can claim self-defense and not walk away. That's why it's called stand your ground. In certain states, you do not have to walk away. You can stand your ground and defend yourself if you so choose. Florida has stand your ground. Texas has it. There's like 30 states that have stand your ground laws, but the laws are every state, the law is interpreted differently. So it's not a black and white thing like, oh, I got stand your ground, so I can do whatever I want. Not the case. Depends on many different factors. So again, that's why we need a court case. That's why they got lawyers. Because if it was as simple as some of these, I'm not saying any of you individually, but as simple as the comments sound on social media, then we wouldn't need court. We just figure it out on TikTok. The reason we have a court case is because you have to consider all the factors, not just a handful of them. Jen said, which is sad, that negativity always gets the attention. Not necessarily negativity, but things that are exciting. Negativity is exciting. Again, ass models are exciting. Things that are exciting get attention. And often things that are shorter get more attention than things that are longer, because the longer things require more time and more attention. Things that are shorter, again, this is the reason why you can take a 2-minute clip out of a 3-hour video and everybody watches the 2-minute clip and only 10% of those people watch the 3-hour video. So people are going around getting excited over the clip that got taken out of context. But if they watched the whole 3 hours, they would understand that that thing out of context is not even really what was happening. But now everybody believes the thing that got taken out of context instead of the full thing was what actually happened. Good example of this is Donald Trump, the fine people hoax after Charlottesville. Fine people on both sides. But if you listen to the whole thing that he said, that's not the point that he was actually making. If you listen to the whole thing, he said, not saying that the neo-Nazis, because they should be condemned. He said that right after, but they took that part out of context and made you believe he said one thing when he actually said something completely different. And that's an example, but people do that all the time. I've had people do it to me on social media. Take something out of context, make it seem like I was saying one thing when I was actually saying something else. Or make the situation look like one thing when it was actually completely different. So, Georgia said, you're right, there will be more attention, but we appreciate you. Well, thank you. Well, I intentionally do it this way because I don't want to sell out just to get attention by any means necessary. I do want to get attention, but not by any means necessary. You have to have a line. Every person needs to have a line how far you'll go for certain things that you want. People thrive on negativity. Yes. Well, negativity draws attention. I mean, understand, every one of us, if we hear something that we think about negatively, it will get our attention too. This applies to everybody. All right, none of us is exempt from this. The thing is, we just need to understand the game. Right? So if someone is doing something completely different from you, they get more attention, then you need to understand why. All right, a few more comments, folks, then we wrap this up. We're right here at 10 o'clock. I usually end these at 10 o'clock. So I see 3 minutes on my timer. So we'll go to 10:07, then we'll wrap this up. James said, if you start lying to get views, I wouldn't watch, but that's why I keep showing up. You're genuine. Well, thank you, James. I think if I lied to get views, you might not be able to tell. That's the whole point. That's the point. Is if I can cloud the lie enough that you can't catch it, that's the thing. He could have forgotten in there from a different time. Sean, I don't know what that's referring to. When you use the weapon, you need to answer why you use it common sense. Yes, but he may not take the stand. That's what I'm saying. His attorneys will have to answer that. That's the point. The doctorate student, thank you. You're going to be tuning in. Thank you. Carlos said, could have gone all day without hearing the name Stephen A. Smith. Well, the guy draws attention. I mean, that's the whole thing. He draws attention. So Shauna said, defense needs to sow doubt in the state's case. Lots of variables. Exactly. That's their whole job. If they can get doubt in the state's case, they can win this case. It depends on the charge, though. It depends on the charge. Purple said, what does justice look like? He made a decision. I bet he cannot grasp intentional murder. No. Well, that's why we need court. Jen said, that's how you men get caught. LOL. No, I don't think so. That's the reason why it's on Instagram. It's on Instagram so men don't get caught. That's the whole point. That's the point. Hancho said, have ever been in a fight? You talking about me? Yes, of course. Carpenter said, what's your pedigree? I don't understand the question. You are real good at teaching people how to reason. Adrian Farmer, thank you. I agree with that. I do think I am good at teaching people how to reason. R. Philly said, if he was being bullied and carried the knife because of it, would that still be premeditated? You have to ask a lawyer who is familiar with law in the state of Texas, because every state is different. And again, he didn't use the knife on the bully. I don't think this white kid was his bully, because if he was, he should have just walked up to him and did it. He didn't. The white kid came to him. So again, there's still many things we got to figure out here that we don't know. We just don't know. That's the bottom line, folks, is we don't know. So Georgia said, please continue your lies throughout the trial. Oh, that's guaranteed to happen. Georgia, you don't even have to ask me that. That's guaranteed to happen. Rahek said, we know you don't lie because you use logic. Well, thank you. Jen, okay, so all y'all seem to laugh at that Instagram ass models things. There's a lot of y'all are females. Y'all don't know. And none of the men said anything. When I asked about y'all see ass models, none of the men said anything. That's interesting, right? Only the ladies lying. None of the men said anything. So I'm the only one seeing these ass models. I ain't following them. So how do you get 1 million followers? Anyway, JC said, bringing a weapon broke section 4605A. Okay, we'll take your word for it. Oh, Mike said he said something. Okay, so Mike and I are the only 2 men in here who ever see the ass models on Instagram. James Collins didn't say anything. Like, most of y'all shouldn't say anything. Most of you men, I'm joking here. Don't say anything. You should just act like you don't know what I'm talking about. Michelle said, I see them all the time. Okay, so some of y'all. Mary said, my man always has those models popping up. LOL. Mary today, they ain't popping up. All right, they're coming up for a reason. Like everybody says, that's your algorithm. All right, that might be his algorithm. Some people say it's the algorithm, but I just explained to you how the algorithm works. They throw a bunch of stuff at you, and if that doesn't work, they throw different stuff at you. And if that doesn't work, they throw different stuff at you. So I'm going to open up my Instagram right now. And look, first thing that comes up is my own video. So here's my Instagram. Y'all can follow me on Instagram. My name is Dre Baldwin. My link is in my profile on Instagram. I'm about to go to the Explore tab. Y'all want to see what's on my Explore tab on Instagram? It's the last thing we're going to look at today. Here's my Explore tab. So look at my Explore tab. Y'all see that? Here's my Explore tab on Instagram right now. What do you see? So let's see what we got. Let's go through all of these squares. One is a girl playing golf. She's playing golf, but she's showing off her ass. Y'all see it right there. Like, she's allegedly playing golf, but what is she really showing? She's really showing her ass. Second one is a girl lifting weights, but the camera is behind her, so she's showing her ass. As you can see, that's number 2. Third is another girl showing off her breasts. She's sitting down. The next one is Michael Jordan. Picture of Michael Jordan dunking. Next one is 2 dudes boxing, because I do look at boxing videos. Next one is a dude playing basketball doing a dunk, because I do look at basketball videos. Next one is a girl, looks like she's holding the cake, showing off her ass. All right, so let's count the ass pictures. 1, 2, and this girl with the breasts, let's call that an ass picture. That's 2. This girl right here with the cake, that's four ass pictures. Now is a woman, is an old picture, old clip from like an old TV show. We won't call that one ass, but let's just go to the next one. Then you got this girl who's laying down with her legs open, her back to you. That's another ass one. So that's 5 ass pictures. Then you got 2 girls standing next to each other with their asses out. That's 6 ass pictures. Then you got another girl squatting down. She has on what looks like a dress, but she's squatting down with her back to the camera. Notice that none of these girls had their face in the camera. You don't even see their faces anymore. You just see their backs and their asses. So that's 7 ass pictures. This is my algorithm on Instagram. 7 ass pictures. Then it looks like Floyd Mayweather holding his boxing belts. So that's another boxing one. Then you got a picture of a video of 2 guys boxing. So how many ass pictures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 ass pictures out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 posts, 7 ass pictures. This is what Instagram is showing me when I log on and open it. And notice I didn't touch anything. I just looked at them. Now, if I do this, if I go here and don't scroll or touch on anything, tomorrow they're going to show me a whole different set of stuff besides this. But they're showing me the ass stuff because they are guessing ass and boxing and basketball because they're guessing this might get my attention. And listen, I told you, I've clicked on ass pictures before. Again, I'm a heterosexual man. What do you expect? I will click on ass pictures just to see what's going on. But I don't follow them. I don't like these pictures. I don't comment on anything. I got enough discipline to do that. But this is the reason why ass models exist, because people are paying attention to them. And you look at these posts, they got followers, likes, comments, OnlyFans, subscribers. I don't do any of that shit. All right. It ain't me. Okay. So I'm just letting y'all know. All right. Supply and demand. Someone said Facebook is getting worse. See, I don't even scroll. I don't scroll on these other apps. I don't know what's going on. I know Instagram because I use it for my story posts. And that's the only, and I know X. X has porn. This is straight up porn on X. Like straight up, like you can see everything on X. You can see everything. Like name it, you can see it on X. And Elon, for whatever reason, won't get rid of it. So I don't know. Carla said, women, stop belittling yourself. Teach our daughters to respect themselves. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Brandon said, I got off Instagram. If you date thirst trappers, then you're going to find out. Oh, Brandon, I know the game. I've been around the block. Trust me. I told you, I don't partake, but I see it on Instagram. JC is all over the streets in Texas. Yes, it's in the streets too. I mean, I live in Miami. So Michelle said, your phone's here, what you talk about. Social media shows you. Interesting. So if I keep talking about ass models, they're going to show me more. We'll find out. We're going to test that out today. All right, so everybody, we will be back on Monday. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Monday's tentative topic, which I was going to talk about today, is going to be RFK Jr. and the Make America Healthy Again movement. Pending anything that happens over the weekend. If something else happens over the weekend, that will be Monday's topic. But for now, we're planning on RFK Jr. on Monday, but that might change. If you're on TikTok, make sure you follow my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. The links are both in my profile. If you're on YouTube, all the replays will be on YouTube. So y'all want to see the replay of this and you want to pick up the speed so you can catch it all, the replays will be on YouTube. I'm on every social media platform, so whichever ones you like, just look me up. I'm very easy to find. My company is called Work on Your Game. That's my name on TikTok. But my actual name is Dre Baldwin, D-R-E. Last name is Baldwin, B-A-L-D-W-I-N. Just click on the links on my TikTok profile. You'll see my actual name. And you can follow me on whatever platform you like. You want to learn more about my professional work and working with me in my everyday work, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is also on my profile here on TikTok. We do coaching, consulting, speaking, training for entrepreneurs who want to scale up and systematize your businesses, 6 to 7 figure level. Go to, again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. And that's that. Everybody have a great Friday, a great Good Friday. Happy Easter for those of you who are celebrating. And I will see you all on Monday, April the 21st, 2025. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a great Friday. Thank you to all my moderators over here also on TikTok that stay in here and make sure that we tap the screen. We got 77,000 likes here today. So thanks to those of you who are, some of you are not still here, but Carla, I see you're still in here. Thank you, Carla. And a bunch of others who have been in here, but they might not be in here anymore. But I appreciate all y'all for jumping in and engaging every day. I will see y'all Monday. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter. Thank you, Courtney, you as well. Everybody have a great Easter. Work on your game. We out.